Um, yeah. Does anybody else have any, I guess, first impressions or comments about Invasion at this point?
Well,
I
with the female pain change, I'm kind of like curious about is that we can't target multiple units anymore, right?
Not with Irresistible. No, I'm sorry, not with Will of the Hive Mind. I don't think.
Right. So yeah, okay. So it just makes invasion a lot worse, in my opinion,
Um,
because that was the whole unit.
Can you will the hive mind the 5-up crit strat on 2 units now? Didn't they get rid of that restriction?
Yeah, it's on 2 units, but it costs 1 CP.
Right, but previously you couldn't will of the hive minded at all because of the requirement where all targets had to be eligible for the free strat. And now since it's a reduction and they got rid of that requirement, you could 1 CP strat the 5-up crit and get it on 2 units, right?
yes, I think because the change to Will of the Hive Mind is just it's a flat -1 CP to the targeted units within 12. And I think just the restriction would be the units have to be within 12 and they have to be within synapse. So I think they have to fit all the criteria, but I could be
Yeah,
wrong
because
there.
before it used to be that you had like each target had to have the reduction ability on it, and now I would assume that, like you just said, both of the targets would have to be within would be able to fulfill all the criteria, and then it would be reduced by the hive tyrant. That would be my guess. But yeah, the big detriment of Invasion Fleet right now is that you can't double up on the penalty anymore, which is it's big. It's very big. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. My entire game plan was revolving around just here's the hive turn with a 5-up penal pain goes to 4-up. Here's old one eye with a 5-up penal pain. Here's 2 units per player turn with a 5-up penal pain. Have fun with it. So losing out on one of those is a big issue.
Well, that and also one of the big unique things that Invasion Fleet gave you was access to the lethal hits, and now you don't need to go Invasion Fleet to get the lethal hits. You can just take a Hive Tyrant on foot.
You're
Yeah.
breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, I can hear it. I was going to comment on that too. I think part of the reason, I played Crusher almost exclusively this entire year, except for a couple games with Vanguard. And the two things that I was most jealous about was being able to dabble into lethals and the Feel No Pain. And now that the Feel No Pain can only really be used on 2 units, using it once with Will of the Hive Mind and lethals, you'd have to pay a heavy tax. It's 235 points for the Tyrant, but you can bring that into any detachment now. I think it spreads.
Well, the tyrant's ability is only ranged.
Right,
Its ability gives the ranged weapons assault and lethal hit. So it's not as good for melee effects,
yeah, so I
which
guess you're getting
Invasion
half the
Fleet
effect
still
or
gives you.
less.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I was mostly playing ranged in my Invasion Fleet list anyway. Like I was already running triple Exocrine and double Maliceptor, and that's where most of my lethals were going anyway.
Invasion, a lot of lists were taking a single brick of Gene Stealers, especially on WTC terrain, because when you put the crit 5s with lethals on them, you could make a trap objective that you would do 14 damage to anything in the game on average and could really easily spike to 16 to kill things like Repulsor Executioners.
Right? Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
it was
And arguably that Gene Stealer brick got better too, because now they're getting that +1 strength.
Strength
And
5 Gene
assuming
Stealers.
assuming you attach the Broodlord, they're going to be in Synapse all the time, always.
Yeah, I think that's a big draw that Invasion still has, is specifically that it has the best
I can't hear
Gene
anything.
Stealers.
Yeah, I do Gene Stealers in Invasion, and I think they got a lot better.
Yeah.
I think Invasion is also going to be the new Endless Swarm detachment after the Gargoyle, or after the stratagem got hit.
Yeah, doubling up on D3 plus your regen, that's really good.
Yeah, I think
Or
Invasion's going to be
doesn't
now
double
where
up on
you're.
something.
I think it's
Plus-
the new Swarm detachment.
Plus, the Turvagon went down, and the Turvagon ability didn't get nerfed. That's still very good.
And a Turvagon with a 5-up, maybe 4-up Feel No Pain is pretty good.
That's interesting. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought of that because I don't like playing with the small bugs a whole lot. So
I was running a mostly like bog standard Invasion Fleet list, and I ended up throwing just one Turvagon and 20 Termagants into it, and it actually performed way better than I expected it to.
That is a really, really good combo in every detachment.
And just backed up with some Venoms, and I'm pretty sure the Invasion Fleet respawn is 2 hits.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it does. It lets you double up on it baseline.
Now, how that's going to play with the new secondary? Are we bringing 20-man bricks, 10-man bricks? That's to be
I don't
determined.
think one 20-man Termagant brick is a problem. Like, I don't think you're giving anything up by taking that.
No, I think you actually want to bring one squad. If you're going to be bringing anything, and it's not just 2x10 squads of gargoyles for secondary actions or something like that, if you are actually thinking about bringing big packs of gaunts, just bring one, unless you're going all in and bring 100 of them. Because if you don't have any of the qualifying units for Call the Horde, they can pitch it for free. Versus if they first turn and you've got the 20 pack of Termagants sitting next to it, regenerating from the stratagems and sitting next to a Tervigon, and you got Philo Pain on them, and they're in synapse range, and you got cover on them, and all this other nonsense, it makes it really, really hard for them to score it. But if you don't have anything like that, if you don't have qualifying units, they can pitch it for free. So it's better to provide them
Yeah, that's actually a good point. It's in some cases it's better to have just one unit that meets the criteria because then they can't get rid of it. I didn't think of that, but that's a good point.
My day one list is 4x20.
Termagants?
That's big on the swarm.
I mean, I think you can go both ways. Like, I don't think it's wrong to do. Like, I don't think that's a problem. It's just a different kind of list.
Okay, wow. No, it sounds like there's definitely some depths to be plumbed with Invasion, and maybe we're just dabbling in that a little bit. Does anybody here have any experience with Unending Swarm? That's kind of what I thought a little bit. Well, maybe we can get Scotch into a call here sometime, and he can talk on it, but that might be in a little bit. How about Synaptic Nexus? Oh, of course my internet disconnects.
Yeah, mine just did too.
Here I am trying to be master of ceremonies, and
Awkward. Torrin, how many pickles do you like on your burger?
3 each. Lots.
It's you. Well, because I didn't know what to do. They always bring stuff from Colorado or beyond.
Hello, please.
It's pretty big, right? So with no armor of content, with nothing, just the +1 to hit, it averages 8 without the flamer. So the zone throps are doing 8 damage. So then if you get +1 to wound, it'd be a 6th better than whatever number of wounds 8 is. I'd have to look and see again. But the big thing is, the big thing with that unit is it might be really, really good at shooting blast now. It might be a far better board clearer than a Lancer.
Okay, so if you battle shock the Land Raider, you're dealing 13% out. You're dealing 13. You're 36.1% to outright kill it. So you outright kill it a little over
Papa
a third of the time.
Ranch.
So that's still not great.
It's not the best, but you also have to remember that you're not only shooting at it with that one unit. You're probably shooting it with an Exocrine to get re-rolls. You're probably shooting it at a Hive Tyrant because he's got nothing better to shoot his guns at. For me in my games, if I need to kill a Land Raider, I have to make sure that it dies in that go so that I can charge whatever's inside of it. So I'm not just dedicating one unit. I'm probably dedicating.
So put some ice in your water and then sit down and eat your burger.
Well, of course my internet wants to fritz when I'm trying to record online conversations. So this is going to be lost.
Well, it won't be lost in your heart.
No.
You can re-record it. Are you hosting it? It's on Discord.
Whoops.
That's okay. Build character. Yeah, I'm happy with how those came out. You weren't here the second time I made them? You wasn't? I tried to thaw them a little too quickly using like tepid water. Yeah, that worked as well. problems, but they would not stay together. Oh man, and I had like burger purples in dinner. I need to make burger purples.
Well, you want to work all day, but not now?
I will not miss Cox ever again.
Or like when I'm playing Tau, the railgun hammerhead. 9 times out of 10, what I really need them to do is pop a transport. I don't need to kill like the world's toughest model with a 4 of invul and 20 wounds. I need them to pop a rhino so I can get the good bits inside. And I feel like
yeah.
Rupture Effects is very good at that now. Not as good as a hammerhead, but close.
That is definitely the other thing to consider. Like, you either are going to whiff it or you're going to get the job done.
I'm willing to risk it for the biscuit. Oh my god. It'll come in, go out. Come in, go out.
Do you want my phone hotspot? Could it do that? Or mine?
I don't think it'll...
Do you want to try?
Oh, let's see.
Mine is Ring Ring Banana Bone. If you want it, it's
No,
on.
here, I'll try mine first, and if not...
With the banana agreed.
Well, this also doesn't bode well if we want to stream something. You're fine. You're fine. There's no wind. There's no interrupt. You're fine. Just stay that way.
Yeah, it's still out there, bruh. Did I tell you my mother wants to get a tattoo when she moves out? Actually? Talk about it. Really? I guess you don't have to. Really not nice. You think you can tolerate it? Maybe. What she wants before we would get to small and shaped. I would want shading on mine. I don't know if she'd go on her. I mean, that would be right. If we have so much going on. Unless it's like a pen and ink. Kind of. We'll see. I don't buy any of the things she wants to do. We're actually gonna have feel for it a lot of times. You tell her you've got it done, so it ain't your fault. I don't think she likes my tattoo very much, but I'm not because I do. It's too big. I love it. I mean, not perfect. I don't know. I love mine. Mine was scarred and all that. Whatever. Stuff. Sinar might have actually come out of rubber shoe at tap work.
Like, I
If you
don't
rapid
own
ingress it, very often. If it's alive, it will. Is basically the way that'll work. So you would use it as rapid ingress threat, use the 3 inches to hide it from the big guns, and put it in next to things that can't kill it because it has 14 wounds. And then the next turn, the chance of getting it is quite high, especially because it moves 10 inches.
Yeah, all the mobility in Vanguard you get, especially like new parasites have synapse on them. All the brood boards around your units and gene seers have synapse on them. The neurolictors that you already have up field have synapse on them. If you have a neuroturret nearby, he's got the 18 inches of permanent synapse for that turn on him. So you've got options. So if you are able to hide him, you'll get it. But if you're just dropping him in 3 inches away from a pack of Terminators to try and put the objective or to scare your opponent, it's not probably not going to have the best benefit. But Vanguard has a lot of very mobile units that'll be able to solve that issue.
Or straight up be crazy and just say, hey, it's a 10-inch move monster that, with the new pivot rules and with advance and charge, might not have to deep strike.
Well, not to mention, because it's Vanguard, you can use the lone op strat on it, right? Although that strat got a lot worse.
It's outside of 18 now, not 12.
Yeah, that's actually probably kills it.
And I'm
I
sorry,
think the
my
ISF
inertia...
is probably the big thing, right? You just like pop it somewhere, your opponent doesn't deal with it, you just pick it up and put it somewhere else.
When do you pick up the uppy though? It's not going to do
It's
anything,
at the
right?
end of
the
your
Enter
opponent's
turn?
opponent's
movement,
fight
isn't it?
phase. It's end of their fight phase.
Okay.
So you could do something, I guess, but it would die. It should die, or it should kill what it's killing. So it's kind of
Yeah,
a
and,
weird
like-
scenario.
Okay, 18 inches is a long way, but it still forces the opponent to get within 18 of said Trigon.
Sure.
Yeah, and with the
Here's
3-inch
the
deep
question.
strike, you could
The
avoid
lone-up-
any big guns.
The lone up strat now is changed to 18 inches. It did have a part in it that said if your unit already has blown up, it moves it to 6 inches. How is that interacting with the new change that says if it specifies a distance, it's set to 12 inches now or 18 inches now?
I'm
Does that
pretty
still
sure you
set it
can
for 6
still. Pretty sure you can still turn 12-inch loan up to 6-inch. It didn't say anything about
Yeah,
that.
I think
Yeah.
specifically for things
Yeah.
that didn't have loan up, gain an 18-inch loan up, not 12.
And my dad said, I really don't know.
I don't know. This is my perception of Vanguard, is that you want to be spread out all over the place, and you don't really want to focalize a lot of your strength in one place. So I think the 18-inch loan up for the monsters specifically is fine.
But back to it, uppy downy Moloch's pretty fucking nuts.
Oh, dude. 2 or 3 Molochs for me.
If you can get a Moloch into
CPC,
Synapse 2,
are
having
you-
it have 9 strength, fight some fun stuff.
So obviously the snake's got a huge buff from getting the keyword.
Yeah, and Vanguard was already running more melee units than most detachments, and all of them really like the +1 strength and synapse, especially the melee warriors, which are obviously better in Vanguard than pretty much anywhere else.
So I'm going to say something super questionable, but ranged warriors actually seem to be pretty sick. Without anything, just do 6 of them, or even just 3 of them.
For what?
Well, so if, and this is a big if people bring battle line units outside of war dogs, a Tyranid warrior, ranged warrior unit can kill most battle line units now at strength 6. On top of the fact that you might want to also have some synapse around now.
For 130
I guess
for 6, maybe?
Yeah, it's a little expensive for them, and they die to a stick freeze. Like if they had a 3-up armor or they hit on 3s with their guns, maybe. I want warriors to be good too. They're my favorite unit in Nids. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still just rubbed raw by the melee weapon biomorph change to them, and I just don't want to look at them on my shelf. I got a whole 30 of them sitting on my shelf, staring at me, waiting to be painted. I'm like, maybe next edition, guys.
Well, 65 points for 15 attacks plus a D6, a D3, and 3 shots. I mean, pretty good shot to kill things that are battle line in most armies for 65 points.
I don't know
Yeah,
if
I
I'd
just
be...
tossed it into Unit Crunch now. You're 77% to kill 5 Marine equivalent units. You're probably like 90% to kill Space Marine Scouts.
What?
That's assuming you're like running the full 6.
Okay, I have a hard time investing into the full 6, because 130 is almost an exocrine. And I don't know, I feel like my points in Crush are already kind of tight. I don't know if I do it, but that's just me.
I feel like I'd rather run Raveners at that point if I don't already have them in the list.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, but
I
I guess
don't know. I liked Raveners before, and I like them a lot more now.
if you really need the 10-point discount, dropping from Raveners to Warriors, I can see.
Raveners won't really get the synapse boost pretty much ever
No.
if you're playing them.
No, but with the hit to Rippers and Spore Mines, I find that uppy downy Raveners are much more valuable than they were before. I mean, they were valuable before, but they're more valuable now.
Okay,
Oh, totally.
I'm back with the uninvested 3-man. They kill a single Marine.
That's-
They don't half the time. They
Hell
don't
yeah.
even kill 2 Marines.
See, at least Raveners, even with 3, can kill like 2.5 Marines, maybe 3.
And in Invasion Fleet, if you give them the crits on 5s, they can kill a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think Raveners with crits on normal crits on 6s kill close to 4 Marines. If you're lucky, they can kill 5.
What do Hormigons do into a Marine unsupported other than synapse? Now that they have strength 4, is that 4?
Give me
Or is that
one
3?
second.
So they wound 16% better, but I don't know the exact math.
I just gotta pop a dupe in that. Oh, that's edit. That's not duplicate, is it? No, it is. Cool. 10-man synapse. Strength 4. Save that. Save that. Okay, so this is assuming no additional buffs, just in synapse. You kill 2 Marines 23% of the time, which is not great.
That's one more Marine than pre-nerf.
If they're invasion horms, they kill the second Marine 43% of the time.
Okay, so I think they're, in my opinion, the reason I bring Hormagaunts is because I need to cut 20 points and I can't bring Gargoyles.
Yeah, that's a good reason right there.
So I don't know.
Exactly how badly do you want to kill War Dogs? Because like
me,
Hormagaunts and Invasion are pretty good at finishing off War Dogs.
I haven't played
Yeah,
Invasion
Hormagaunts are
since
really good.
November, so
Can you get lethal hits on them in Assimilation Swarm? Is that a thing
Yes,
you can just do?
Yep. 1 CP.
Yeah,
They're
so
pretty solid.
Hormagaunts with lethals. Strength 4 is not changing anything about this, but as far as I'm aware, 10 Hormagaunts is still like 3 or 4 damage average into a War Dog with lethals. You get crit 5s, it's 5 or 6.
I don't know. I don't generally look at my Hormagaunts as things that need to be killing things.
yeah, I don't know. I think they're objective holders for a turn, wrapping a Rhino so that if you, for some reason, prevent a disembark, something like that. Or it's a
They're
move
super
block.
good at tying up things that don't want to be in combat.
I have had Ironstorm players run a Gladiator Lancer onto an objective, get shot twice by Exocrines, and then die to Hormagaunts with Adrenal Surge. So,
I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying I'm not like
Well, like, that
kitting
was
my
average math.
Hormagaunts to kill vehicles.
I-
I know
I-
they can in a pinch, but
I tip my hat to you then. I don't think I could ever have that happen to me.
But
I know HF Scorpion in his WTC games and practice and stuff, he also is very much like, pretty much anytime he plays against any army that has vehicles with 3-up saves, his random 2x10 Hormagaunt units just get skulls. Like, I think they killed Canis Rex in one of his games fairly recently.
Yeah, Hormagaunts are deceptively good at being like, oh, guess what? Now you're dead.
They're pretty good at fucking up Eldar too, especially now that they wound their guys on 3s instead of 4s.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
any-
actually a good point.
anything to mess
that
up
3 to
Eldar.
4 break point is huge for them.
Hey, at least
And it's not
support
in like
platforms.
POW.
Oh, keep going.
It also means they wound a lot of stuff on 5s that they wounded on 6s before.
True. The 5 to 6, I think, is the bigger break point. So at strength 4, heavy infantry is 5s. Which is good for, like, what's that armor called? Not Centurion. I mean, it's not bad for Centurions, right? But Gravis armor. It's actually really good
Oh
for
yeah,
Gravis
because they're
armor.
3-up saves, so you credibly threaten them. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Getting Eradicators on 5s.
Horms
And
are
you
very
kill like
good.
1, right? But that's worth it.
I don't know. I definitely think Horm stonks are up. Like they're definitely better now than they were 2 days ago.
I think my mind is just warped, and I look at small bugs like, all right, you move block. This is your one job.
So on that same idea, Von Ryan's Leapers at strength 6, does that make a difference?
Nope.
Into knobs. Well, it's still -1 to wound if they're run by a war boss, so never mind.
They're still AP1, right?
They are still AP1.
They are still AP1.
Yeah.
And they're going to be mostly
they are
supported
six
too,
attacks.
probably, right?
Well, so the interesting thing there is they fight first, right? So if they can kill enough that don't die, then it becomes an interesting mechanic.
I think it's something that if you have a Neurotyrant in Vanguard, you give them a Neurovoid and they run away. I don't think you're going to give it to a 3-man.
It almost like becomes a meta consideration where you're thinking like, how often is this AP1 going to sink me, right? Like if you're looking at armies that are 5-up save, guardsman equivalent, suddenly wounding them on 2s and making them save on a 6 is not like awful. That's Sisters, right? Sisters stuff.
Sister
Yeah.
stuff is 3-up saves. Well, except stuff that's not in power.
But also, like, Tau Breachers, well, they're small infantry.
But you don't have to worry about Synapse because you might just heroically intervene into one of your Synapse units, right?
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think how many things like we credibly threaten with the combination of like 5 to 6 is probably the biggest breakpoint in the game, right? Because it means that you wound a lot of things on 5s instead of 6s. But at the same time, like those things that you bumped up to wound, you're only AP 1. So like, what's that threatening?
Well, so 5 to 6 would be like transports. So like Von Ryan's Leapers into transports.
What's the math on
With
Von
lethals,
Ryan's
potentially.
wrapping a Rhino? Like, can it even reliably do half of the damage to kill a Rhino?
Let me see.
If you can do 5 to a Rhino and wrap it, then maybe. With 6 models.
Okay, why does
What's
this?
half on a Rhino? 9. How many wounds on a
Nine.
Rhino?
This is an oddly
10.
specific request.
I don't. Well, okay. Here's my reasoning for it. Is if you can get it down to half, and your opponent's like, well, I'm not going to disembark, but I also don't know if I want to devote enough resources to fall back this Rhino because I might lose it on a desperate breakout. They might just leave it.
Can we assume that a Rhino and a Wardog Brigand are roughly equivalent for survivability in this case? Because I don't
3
actually have
plus
a Rhino
armor,
profile.
sure. I think they're a Rhino's
I
10
have an
wounds,
actual
right?
Rhino. So
It's
full
5
Rhino.
damage in Synapse. That's what I've got.
It is 5.
I've got 6. That's with lethal hits, though. My bad. Let me get rid of lethal hits.
Oh, yeah. Wait, I had the exact same issue. Why did we think that Von Ryan's Leapers have lethals?
I didn't. I just assumed that you could get them if you were playing them not in Vanguard.
Okay, because I had it like baked into the weapon profile for some reason in my profile, and it was just there already, and I don't know why.
No. Yeah,
So
you're.
with lethal, it's 56% chance of 6 or better, and then without lethal, it's 4 damage. But almost a 60% chance at 4 damage, so do what you
I
feel
had
about that.
57.3% for 5 damage well in Synapse. You're...
Do you have 36? Is that 6? 36 attacks?
No, I figured out the problem. I figured it out. There's also sustained hits 1. I
Oh.
think I put my optional checkboxes into my weapon profile instead of my
Got it.
overall.
So
Thanks, very
without
cool.
without lethals and sustain, it's probably like 4 damage to a Rhino.
It's 4
Yeah.
without lethal or sustained. With
Yeah.
lethal, it's 6.
No, never
But-
mind.
I have 2 vitally important questions that have nothing to do with Von Ryan Sleepers. I don't want to sidetrack us, but I want to ask them.
Good. I didn't with Von Ryan's Leapers.
Okay.
They're still
Okay. So, my question pertains to 2 formerly staple units that I still think are good, but I'm not sure if they're auto takes anymore, and that is the Biovore, which I think is still playable at 50 because it still gets you behind enemy lines and engage, but they're definitely not an auto take. And how do we feel about the Neurolictor at 90 with Synapse? Because Synapse is a huge buff, but 90 points is a lot of fucking points.
Biovore, I think, is still an auto take. Melee meta, lots of stuff like world leaders could people are predicting world leaders top 3 because of the new deployments. Just hold your home base.
They're a lot
So-
closer.
So, yeah, I think you'd be pretty crazy not to take one, but the advancing is not going to matter as much because advance and do actions doesn't matter anymore for scoring, but for defending yourself from guys YOLO charging into you, still auto take.
Yeah.
You can also like put one on your safe defend objective from behind a wall, and a lot of units can't advance through that wall to clear the mine or advance the wall, clear the mine, and take the point. Like there's a lot of units that have assault that are still gonna like come up on you, shoot you off a point, right? Like Tau breachers or whatever, and then suddenly they can't do that. And if it's your safe objective where you have the good wall position, you can just stop them from getting near you. Buys you a full turn.
Yeah.
Also, you might just want something on your home objective that can shoot indirectly and not be in the threat of dying
You always need something to screen that corner. Biovores do it pretty well.
and do actions. Because now
I-
the things that are chilling at home are going to be a Biovore or a cheap chaff unit, maybe.
Yeah.
Because
You
there
can
are a
also
lot
do
of
like solo Neurotyrant, especially if you have like 3 Exocrines. You can have the Neurotyrant be nearby 1 Exocrine and throw his Neuroloids to the other 2 Exocrines, and now you've got 3 lanes that don't need other extra support.
Yeah, but you don't want to waste your neuro tyrant when you can get +1 strength with those things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why I'm changing, going over to
Neurotyrant-
solo throw.
Well, even without zone throws, Neurotyrant hiding in the back is kind of dead now because +1 strength on so many profiles is way too important to have the Neurotyrant hang out in back.
Yeah. He wants to be within 18 of a lot of stuff in the midfield.
I guess it depends how hard you're castling, right? Like if you're playing a gunline Nexus build or Nexus Norns or something, and you're just like, I want you to walk into my board half, then maybe you can still hang back.
Oh yeah, I mean, if everything you have has synapse, then sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely, the option to play a more aggressive Neurotyrant is definitely on the table now. Or I think solo in the back was pretty much standard before. Okay, so Biovore, everyone, we feel like we're all on the same page. You probably still take one. which is kind of where I was at with it.
I
But
just
what
kind
about
of
the
see it
neural
as
lifters?
a 25-point cut to my list, and now I can put in one
Yeah.
enhancement.
That's
That's
kind
it.
of what I was thinking too. I kept cutting him, and I was like, I don't get anything for cutting this guy, so I'm just gonna put him back in.
Right.
So the neural
All those
lictor,
voice changes paid for me to keep 2 neural lictors.
Oh, hold
Very
on.
the
casual.
neural lictor, man. I think in any so in Vanguard and Nexus, I think you're no-brainer for neural lictors. But for everything else, it's a real decision.
People are just running 2 neural lifters, right?
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, 100%.
I don't
Two.
think you can afford to run 3.
No, I don't think so either. 270
I'd
is
love
almost
to
a
run
norm.
3. I mean, the number
with
of
the-
times that I've wanted to, the number of times that I've been playing a game and just like wished to high heaven that my neural lictor had synapse for X, Y, or Z reason, like that's a lot of times that's happened. So I'm kind of glad they got it, but yeah, I don't know. It's just I feel like you can't run more than 2, otherwise you're spending way too many points on neural lictors.
So
I've always
the
been
shadow
playing neural lictors,
change-
so I'm not the person to ask.
I think the shadow change like really helps you still keep 2 even in invasion, because you can just like do the same plays you would do with Death Leaper on turn 3, where you just like chuck him into your opponent's face and
yeah, to get the last
you
one.
yeah. And
But aren't you
then
just gonna
they
do
enable
that?
their own aura. And
Aren't you
if
just gonna
have
do
2 yeah. If you can just take 1 and you can play it really aggressively and just not care, or you play 2 and then you have bats on the table and then you just get to play normal low-not play. Like, I don't know, it seems, I think personally they're still a solid 2 of no-brainer.
I always felt like
Yeah,
the real
I
power
agree.
of neural lictors was to put them on the 2 midfield objectives on the flanks, like behind a wall or a ruin, but within 12. And like the fact that they basically prevent your opponent from just throwing 1 unit onto it to take it really fucks with people's ability to score primary. You can deny so many primaries with 2 neural lictors if you play them defensively.
Right. On top of all of that, if you use their ability for +1 to wound, now you're getting +1 to wounds for exocrines. You're handing out battle shock tests and battle shocking opponents to get the +1 to wound on your zone threats with the neural lictor. They'd have it anyways because the neural lictor's there, but it just throws out other options around the board that you didn't have previously.
I feel like keeping my neural lictors alive the whole game was how I won games when I was playing Nids before the data slate. Like the games where the neural lictors lived till the 4th turn or the 5th turn were the games that I was like stealing off of battle shocks.
I'm probably in the
But you do-
minority because I took all my Battleshock tech out of Crusher. And I'm glad Zimko's here because I was hoping somebody else other than just me could speak to that effect, because he convinced me to just take everything out. No Neurotyrant, no Neurolictors. Death Leaper's the only one in there, but specifically just because he's blown off infiltrate.
Well, I mean, I was playing Vanguard for a long time and doing pretty well with it, but you really have to go deep into the battle shock tech to make it work, to make it worthwhile. And I feel like if you're not playing Vanguard and you're not playing into battle shocks, it's not worth spending that many points to try and force a battle shock here and there. It's better to just take power units. And for Crusher especially, like you just want the biggest meat out there to hold the objectives by brute force.
Would you
rather
run
than trying to-
Screamer Killers in Crusher? Would you consider running those?
I've considered it. I still don't think they're worth it.
I've run several lists with Triple Screamer, and they're good into some armies with medium to low leadership because you can shock anything you want to charge before melee. But Marines, it's just they don't care. And they're still 145. A Harspect is 125. You really have to scrape every 5, 10, 15 points you can everywhere you can, because for every time you scrape a monster's points, you afford yourself another one.
And the reason I like Battle Shock Tech and Vanguard is because you can force 3 or 4 Battle Shock tests on a unit per battle round if you get everything lined up right. And that makes it much more reliable. But if you're not in Vanguard, you don't have that, 1 CP stratagem, just force up, take a Battle Shock test, then like your opponents sometimes just pass all their tests and it's just nothing you can do, and then you're just using 90 points for a low nop that can't kill anything and sometimes helps you out holding a point or doing an action.
The other big thing to consider is the synapse buff for Shadow. Depending on what kind of army you're playing, you're probably just going to have it anyway. So like if you're playing Broodlord, if you're playing Warriors, if you're playing Norns, you're going to have it, so it's not really a relevant buff.
The Crusher list I'm looking at now, This is built more around synapse creatures that have invulnerable saves. So like 2 Norn Emissaries, 3 Maleceptors is what I'm starting with. And that way, each of those models are independent. They can go hold the midfield objective by themselves, forcing your opponent to deal with them. But also means I don't need to stay within range of an aura. I don't need to worry about, if I'm going to have synapse near that point when I need to pop Shadow in the Warp kind of a thing, because it will always be there.
Well, plus having an invuln and a big bucket of wounds really helps you take advantage of Crusher, because otherwise, like, who's walking around wounded? Well, Norn Emissaries do, because they've got a 4-up invuln and a 5-up Vilmapane, so
all the time.
they're wounded all the time.
And your opponent could try to do the math. Like, oh, this should kill a Maleceptor. Well, sometimes it doesn't, and then I'm wounding you on 3s or 2s.
The Norns feel super weird to me now. I feel like they're super good in Crusher, but I feel like they got a lot worse in every other detachment.
So, Zimko also convinced me to run an Emissary and Crusher, and I think that solved our primary problem. I just want to stick him on an objective that's annoying for my opponent to devote resources to. He'll just sit there and swarm me 20. And then everything else can devote their attention to the other 3 objectives that's not my backfield.
And now it's so much easier to have Old One Eye do a countercharge when you can have him right up against a ruined wall.
You can Kool-Aid Man the wall
of the objective and just Kool-Aid Man through that wall. You don't even care if you failed the Battle Shock thing or whatever, because at that point he's through the wall, he's charging something.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is what you've been doing, Zimko, but I use Old One Eye solely as a rapid ingress threat. He's always reserved in my games, and on turn 2 or 3 when he comes in, I rapid ingress, because playing on GW layouts, there's plenty of corners that you can hide behind a ruin, and people don't screen out their backfield on turn 3. They're like, I have to be in the midfield.
That's always how I
would do that if I wasn't playing a Trigon to do the same thing.
See, I tried the Trigon, and I played against Eldar, and they just killed him, and I was like, I have no faith in you anymore.
Did I hear you right before that you were saying that you're running your Norn on your backfield objective?
No.
Me? No.
No, I might have been fast talking. I meant I need all of my other resources devoted to the 3 objectives not in my backfield.
Right. So you're still throwing the Norn out on like the middle objective or one of the flanks.
Definitely the flanks.
Usually a flank.
Never the middle, because the middle will you'll get the entirety of the army's attention on the middle objective. You want to split the board in 2, kind of like in chess. If you can have somebody sort of put up too many resources on one side of the board, and then they just crash into the Norn Maleceptor that's babysitting him, they're -1 to hit. I mean, statistically, you have to do something like 60 wounds to the Norn Emissary to kill him. They just start faltering. And then at that point, on the other side of the board, they haven't devoted any resources to kill anything else, and you just start flipping the board. So you get into their back edge, you start getting engaged and behind enemy lines, and then in something like 1 in 5 or 1 in 8 of my games, I get capture enemy outpost with Old One Eye or another unit.
So with 2 Norns, it's the same thing. You don't pick the middle, you just pick the side ones, and they'll dedicate a lot of resources to one or the other. And then you set up your Exocrines with fire lanes and just shoot whatever gets in the middle or gets towards you. And then as long as you're holding 2, and then my Trigon goes and interrupts with their backfield. So sometimes they even dedicate resources to go backwards to go deal with him. And it's like, sweet.
The Trigon also seems super sweet in Crusher. Yeah, I don't know. You guys are like kind of talking me into Crusher. Would you ever consider putting a Swarmlord with the Emissary, or is that too many points? A Swarmlord and Emissary.
I am very much considering it. It's still a lot of points, and as weird as it is, I'm considering it with Tyrant Guard.
Could you? But can you even kill an Emissary with a Swarmlord next to it? Like, you can't use strats.
I mean, you can. Yeah. You're just going to spend all of your strats trying to kill the Emissary, so they're going to lose more resources devoting to killing him. So I think a very experienced opponent just won't do it. They'll just be like, no, I'm not even going over there.
Extraction Emissary?
Also Kool-Aid Man Swarmlord.
Right, so that's what I was thinking, like with Tyrant Guard, you can just Kool-Aid Man and just go straight for your opponent's home objective like a freaking resilient missile with 22 wounds. And
Corkin was saying that he played a game today with Swarmlord and 3 Tyrant Guard in Invasion, and that it was just a huge problem for his opponent, and they just had no way to deal with it.
Because like if you're already running like a Norn, that's already a big problem. They don't want to also have to deal with Tyrant Guard and a Swarmlord. That's just annoying. Like, where do you put your resources?
As someone who has a lot of time on Tyrant Guard, Tyrant Guard are tougher than everybody thinks they are.
Yeah, just like T8 's still pretty good.
I just have a hard time being convinced of something. So I don't know. I'll probably run a bunch of test lists like I normally do because I think I played almost 40 games of Crusher since January, and I think 24 or 25 of them all had different lists.
Yeah.
So
For
back
sure,
to the
I'm
Tyrant Guard.
trying
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Tyrant Guard. Yeah, I was saying, yeah, for sure I'm going to try the Tyrant Guard with the Swarmlord. I don't know if
So-
it'll be good, but it seems alright.
Back to the Tyrant Guard. Interesting.
I wish they were
breakpoint.
cheaper.
They
I wish
had-
they hit better. That's all I have to
They're
say.
not terribly expensive, but the 2-up save would be the big thing. The interesting thing was Strength +1, which they'll always have because they'll be attached.
Yeah.
The Bone Cleaver could be 3 attacks, Strength 6. AP1, though, 2 damage, which is an interesting profile. And then, of course, the Claws would be Strength 9. But they hit on
I've
4s
done
if you
some
attach them
playing
with the
with,
Swarm Lord.
I've done play with Deathwing Knights before their last buff, and their profile plus their leader is 612, and it's very swingy. But in anything with like a 3-up save or better, Marine equivalent that doesn't have a feel no pain, it's like super great. Just every failed save, you just pick up a guy.
Those units are now 622 specifically. They got changed.
But you could, if you do Claws,
Sure,
then it's 922.
But the
Twin
claws are
linked.
also twin linked, so
I
Twin linked,
think
yeah. So-
I like 922 a lot.
So the good thing about the twin linked is even if you're hitting on 4s, so if you have 6 of them, you're going to hit 6 times, and then you're going to wound probably 6 times, but
yeah, I don't
like,
like
you know,
hitting
5
on
times.
fours.
But with it, so with the Neuro Tyrant, then they hit 8 times, and then they usually wound 6 times or 7 times.
Yeah, I was saying, I think they have a really good time with the Neuro Tyrant to get that +1 to hit and maybe the +1 to wound on them. Especially with the Claws, it really helps get past that weapon skill 4+. But in assimilation, there is, I think, it's parasitic biomorphology or something that will increase their output even further in melee if you attach the Neuro Tyrant with them.
So in assimilation, obviously I'll be the one talking here, you can get them to strength 10. But you could also get your Gene Stealers to strength 6, and I think that is definitely first priority over strength 10 Tyrant Guard.
Yeah.
Strength 6 Gene Stealers slap.
And what we didn't mention, actually, you can give them reroll hits with Crusher.
That's right, because it's a monster unit. So you Kool-Aid Man, the Tyrant Guard, and Swarm Lord or Hive Tyrant through the wall, and then they get to reroll all hits as well because of I know the name
Let me
of
do
most
the math
strats,
real
but I
quick.
forgot what it's called. Rampaging Monstrosities.
Yeah, that's actually I didn't consider that. But honestly, even if the Tyrant Guard aren't optimal, like just the fact that they get to keep the Swarm Lord around for like guaranteed two turns of combat, like the Swarm Lord's going to do most of the heavy lifting in that unit, especially now that he's strength 10.
Sure, but Strength 9 AP2 for 2, if you're spending the CP to reroll hits and they're twin linked, now they're just rerolling everything.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Sorry, like that profile is very synergistic with the Swarm Lord's profile. You know what I mean? It's just like
Sure.
extra. It's like taking the missile drones on broadsides, right? Like it's just the same profile again.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just keep hitting them with the same profile until they get unlucky and you kill something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole unit, including Swarmlords, rerolling both. That's pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah, so Swarmlord's got his 8 attacks, so it's 3 Tyrant Guard, it's 6 additional, so it's essentially 14 attacks, strength 9 or better, AP2 for 2 or 3 damage, respectively.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm really like super on board with having Swarmlord up the table, like in every game I play now.
I'll probably try it out in Crusher, but I don't know if it's something I'm going to be like, this is a staple, this is my standard.
I
It's
mean,
very expensive.
I'm considering running it in Assimilation Swarm or Nexus too.
So the Tyrant Guard with rerolls to hits do 8 damage to Toughness 9, 3-up save.
Okay.
So you kill any Toughness 9 model in the game with that unit, because that's just the Tyrant Guard.
Is that what the reroll hits you said?
That's reroll hits.
So that's a Riptide
With Tyrant
dead.
Guard
That's
and the Swarm Lord,
you know,
obviously.
that's a T9 vehicle dead.
But let's make it what T11, T10, T12? What do we want to say?
I don't know. Do Voton. Voton are always hard for me. And they have weird profiles.
Is it a
It's like,
2 Land
Is it
Raider
a 4,
equivalent.
2 or 3?
They're 2 up. They're like Land Raiders.
Okay.
Yeah, 2
so
up with it.
how many wounds? Like 14 or 16?
T12, 16 wounds.
yeah, the
Okay, so
Land
the
Fortress
T12,
is
16 and
just
2-up
super
save.
annoying to crack.
They're only going to do... So 4 is 67%, 6 is 38%.
Yeah.
And then can Swarmlord on his own do the remaining 10?
Nope.
Nah,
With rerolls to hit at strength 11? No.
Just from experience, and even with rerolls, probably not, because AP2. And then,
Okay, but what if the Votan thing is battle shocked?
That doesn't matter.
Still
does it?
no.
I mean, you
I
get
mean,
plus
well,
1 to wound.
Assuming you
Soften
got
it up
plus
a
1 to
little
wound
bit,
from
right?
a Neurolictor, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
If you had a
now
Neurolictor,
you
yeah.
shoot Tyranifexes at land fortresses. That's what you do.
Well, but think about that, right? The cleanup on that is still, you're going to do 8 damage. So if you've damaged it, if you got it down to half, it'll die.
Okay, so
You do
you
more
maybe
need,
with
even
you
charge.
need to thread 1 shot through with the Tyranifex, and you need to do 8 damage, which is just means just roll a 2, not a 1.
Yeah. And then you'll kill it with that remaining unit. I mean, honestly, that unit's output is really good for 1 CP.
Very,
All right.
very respectable.
And then if you're talking about infantry, it'll just churn infantry, all infantry. It'll churn, it'll kill anything.
Well-
I would bet it would kill almost anything.
What I was also thinking is the new mission secondary, or is it secondary? No, it's a secret mission where you get your warlord on the enemy objective.
Yeah.
With Crusher,
It's possible
oh
the
my God.
Swarmlord
Oh,
could do that.
Well,
you know?
the way I've been doing it, if you make Old One Eye your warlord, I'm in the backfield almost every game. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he could go do it.
Do you do Old One Eye solo in your Crusher list, or
Yes.
do you take him with
Oh yeah.
Nope, solo.
with the boys? I used to run him with the boys in Invasion Fleet as a like 390 point rapid
I think
ingress.
that's the only time you take it with
Monstrosity.
the boys is if you're invasion, so you get that sustained hits.
There's a
Yeah.
weird deceptiveness now to people looking at a Norn Emissary and seeing the bulk of the model and being like, okay, I think I can anticipate how much output I need to kill that. And then they look at Old One Eye, this old small Carnifex, and they go, oh, I can crack that instantly. And they underdevote resources and they never kill him.
I never had that problem. I guess part of the problem is that I came out of the gate swinging with Old One Eye when the book first dropped, and I ran him with Old One Eye and the boys, like 2 other Carnifexes in like every list, and rapid ingress in every game, and just absolutely shit stomped things. So now every time I put Old One Eye on the table, no matter where he is, like people will just put like 3 hammerheads into him.
See, I must have just lulled my community into a false sense of security because I didn't start running Old One Eye solo until like 2.5 months ago. So everybody was just like, ah, he's just a little Carnifex. And I'm like, wait till he touches you.
He's one of the
Carnifex
best
without
solo
deadly
monsters, though.
defiance.
What's that?
My round 5 at Falcon says that Old One Eye does not do 3 damage to Angron, so your mileage may vary.
That's terrible.
You consider just rolling better.
Yeah, I gotta buy some dice that aren't Chessex dice.
You need the casino dice. You need those gel large 12mm dice.
Yeah.
And then every time you roll big damage, you yell big money.
So, Brian Strongman from Northern Front in Canada, the WTC team, he's been playing also Crusher. His list is a little schizo compared to your guys, but something that he had was an Old One Eye, and he had a single Crabclaw Carnifex and then 3 sets of Death Spitters. And I think it was because the single second Crabclaw helped crack certain targets like Riptides really reliably. I'm curious if you guys have any thoughts on that. Because it seemed really cool to have
And only 30
the
years
full
old.
threat, you know?
I ran that.
It's of thousands.
I ran the Crab Claws on mine, and I liked it. It was really strong, but it wasn't like I want to say it was point sufficient. But like in the way that I had the list set up, I just needed something that could come in and kill. Like at the time, it was like 10 Blightlord Terminators or Mortarion or some Custodes, and they could kill it pretty much.
There's only
one
set of
Carnifex with Crab Claws.
Yeah, and then 2. It was 1 Carnifex with Crab Claws and Death Spitters, and then a second Carnifex that was all Spitters.
Yeah, so it's 3 Spitters and 1 Crab Claw.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just the Old One Eye on his own doesn't have the juice to take down a lot of things, but if you throw in 1 extra set of Crab Claws, it usually gets him over the finish line.
So Crab Claws, all claws being 13 plus is going to be nutty.
Yeah, that's.
I'm tempted to run Old One Eye and 2 Crab Claw Carnifexes and just like bulldoze anything.
I think anybody's gonna say, "Oh, you spent almost 400 points for that, and it's all melee," and they're just gonna shoot and run.
Probably.
I don't know. I like the layout
You gotta
that.
keep snap though.
Yeah, I like that Crusher. You spread almost all your points across 10 monsters almost evenly. So if they kill 1, it's like, yay, good job. There's 9 more coming.
I don't think I'd run that in Crusher. I think I'd still only run that in Invasion.
No, I think
crit on 5s.
you're right. Old One on the Buddies is still Invasion staple.
Because the thing about that was so sick is that like you could put the big claw profiles into like 10-man infantry brick, and then with the sustained on 5s, you'd still kill every single one of them. Like you could kill 10. At the time, I'm pretty sure it was like CSM Terminators were everywhere when I was running that. Like you could kill 10 Terminators with that, no problem.
Yeah.
The Bring It Down change is nice for our 14 wound monsters.
Yeah, that's true.
It's super nice for our 10 wound monsters too.
Yeah. Speaking of 10
Anyone
wound
else
monsters,
still irrationally
psychophages.
angry that we can't tank shock?
Well, Crusher can,
I'm
but
horribly angry.
At least
It's the one thing I
nerfed
didn't get
slightly.
from my wish list. My wish list was to get Hornkiten back to let Carnifexes and Tyrants tank shock.
my big wish list was point drops on Tyrants and Norns, and I got neither. But then again, the other stuff is pretty sweet too.
The Tyrant did get all. I think both versions of the Tyrant got a lot better.
They did
Even
get
though their
better,
points didn't
and I
go
think
down.
a lot of people would probably overrule me when I say that they wanted the rules to be better at higher cost rather than just make everything cheaper and me have to buy
Absolutely.
more models to flesh out a 2,000-point army.
I don't know if the Tyrant got better for Invasion. I think it got side graded. I think it got better for everything else.
Yeah, Invasion really doesn't like losing the double 5-up Feel No Pain, but everything else is happy about it.
I think this will force most people. You know how the majority of the time when somebody comes in, they say, "Hey, I have a bunch of models. What detachment should I play?" And we all just kind of say Invasion. Just learn how to play Tyranids through Invasion. I don't know if that's the answer 100% of the time anymore.
In my mind, if you're playing Vanguard units, you play Vanguard. If you want to play melee, you probably want to play Assimilation.
Vanguard again.
Maybe, or Vanguard. Assimilation, Vanguard, or maybe Invasion. If you're playing shooting, you almost always want to play Invasion or Nexus. And then if you just want to play monsters, I think Crusher's...
I feel like
Pretty
Invasion is
good.
still the best choice if you have if you're sort of new to the hobby and you have a mixed collection where it's just like you bought the starter boxes and so you have a bunch of little guys and a bunch of big guys and everything in between. I still feel like Invasion Fleet's probably the way to go if you have that.
Invasion is like the easiest way to get yourself into it. You've got synapse creatures and all of your synapse abilities stack, and all of your stratagems get better while you're in synapse range. You've got strats for big things, strats for small things, strats to make your things better. It's kind of like opponent agnostic. You almost always have an ability to help against the other person, unless they're running mounted. They still haven't fixed that. Kind of upset about that, but oh well. So it's easiest to not have as many mistakes in your list building and army and gameplay in Invasion as compared to jumping in straight to Vanguard. Vanguard, I think, takes a bigger brain to play properly and effectively than Invasion does.
Yeah,
But so does melee as a whole.
I guess I was just thinking out loud. I think that's still correct.
But if you ask the question what the best list is, not what the best list to start with is,
No,
then
that
that's a different
wasn't
question.
what I was asking. I think it's probably too early to determine that objectively.
I'm curious in Crusher. I forgot my question.
I got a good one.
Just think of the
How are you
unit.
boys feeling about the psychophage? I've noticed that
God.
so people seem very high on splitting the difference between monster and battle line early objective grabber with psychophage because it just like demands so much overcommitment and it's really annoying to kill. And the fact that Feel No Pain sort of like picks up the slack for losing double Feel No Pain.
Yeah, I don't know. First impressions is I don't really want to play around auras a whole lot in Crusher. I want to be able to split into sort of like 3 squadrons or 3 platoons of monsters. You've got my Norn and my Maleceptor hunkering down and trying to just keep 1 primary for 4 turns. And then I have all of the monsters that are sort of triangulating to shoot anything that goes to the middle. So that's the Tyranifex and the 3 Exocrines. And then I have everything else that's going to just eat or harass anything that goes to their strong objective. So if I have to have a Psychophage bubble up anywhere, it's only going to benefit the Maleceptor, not the Norn on that side. If I run to the middle, he'll get eliminated quicker because he's only T10. And then if I run him and I'm just move block myself so I can't move my Haruspexes or the other bugs to get into melee, I think I'm split too many ways. I don't want to castle up with Crusher. I need to move places. So I think I kind of lose his value.
How many Haruspexes are you running?
2.
plus 3 X screens?
Yes. Now, my
Well,
list for Pariah Nexus will probably look different than it has been for Leviathan. But I still have a core of 3 Malceptors, 3 Excrins, Norn Emissary, 2 Harvespexes, and then I'm dabbling with Lictors, Von Rhine Sleepers, and Raveners for my action monkeys.
I feel like Raveners is the clear answer there. Are you running a single Biovore in your Crusher list?
I took it out in the first iteration of this Pariah Nexus list, so I don't know if I want it because I don't know. For 5 more points, I have a Lictor.
Fair.
So I don't know.
Do you think the 2 OC at full strength matters at all?
It does, because it's an absolute trap for people. Originally, people look at your detachment bonus and say, I don't want to wound all of the monsters evenly across the field. But if you don't wound them, now I have an average of OC 6 monsters. You can't just put a big transport on there and out OC me anymore. A Battle Wagon or Land Raider no longer out OCs, a Harvespex or an Excrin. So they go, okay, well, I have to wound you to take this primary away for, just having one monster there. And now you get your bonus to hit.
Yep.
So back onto the Psychophage. The bring it down change is huge because Psychophages used to give up way too many points. The Aura makes 14 wound monsters into 16 wound monsters if you roll stats.
Sure.
So that makes it interesting. So yeah, when you just think about a 6-up Feel No Pain, like you just gotta do the math, right? So in detachments, you can't get the Aura. And then the other thing is they are really good action monkeys because if they shoot, it doesn't matter. If they melee, it doesn't matter. And whether that's going to be super relevant in Pariah, I think actions are going to be incredibly important because you're going to need something to do actions in the back. You're going to need to do actions in the middle. You're going to need to do them on objectives. And the ones that end at crappy times end at crappy times.
Some of those secondaries. Sorry, real quick about that though. Some of those secondaries that involve the action and it ends at your opponent's turn, I feel like those are traps. Because if you do fail it, like if they do kill the one guy that's in no man's land, and you don't have anybody in their deployment zone, for example, that one, then you're stuck with that secondary. And now you're only drawing one new secondary, and now you can either try it again or discard it, and it could end up losing you the game because of that one secondary.
Yeah, plus you gave up your activation to do it.
I think the solution to that is we need more CP, and that's probably a reason to take Swarmlord, because you can do orders every turn if you need to.
Yeah, like if I draw that secondary, I'm just getting rid of it, and that's why I'm thinking Swarmlord as well. Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but the no advance and do actions is going to be a huge one for me. I very often took a walking Hive turn and then like advanced a Tyrannifex out onto an objective to do a thing on it.
Yeah. I'm not worried because I was only doing it with one squad of 3 Rafters, and I'm like, okay, everything else will still be there.
But it's definitely something to consider, though. Yeah.
It's another reason I think Raveners are go way up. I think the stonks on Raveners are up because they moved 12 base.
They moved 10.
They moved 10.
It's 10.
10.
10. Okay.
But they up downy every turn. So
they up downy and they move 10. They can get where they need to be and do the things they need to do.
Yeah, I don't know. Now I'm looking at this list and I'm like, should I just have 3 squads of 3 Raveners and just up down all over the place?
I think 2's
currently
enough. I ran 3 and I never needed the 3rd one, so I always just cut back down to 2.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. This is not the final iteration. I'll need to play because some of the new. I don't know if you guys have looked at the new GW layouts. They are wild.
They're wonky as fuck, dude.
They are super weird. I mean, I think they took some inspiration from WTC and they pushed a lot of stuff closer to the middle, so there wasn't as many firing lanes. And on maps that there is a firing lane, there's one big one.
Yeah.
So incidentally, just like WTC.
Yeah, I agree. I think melee armies are still going to be a problem this edition or this season. I don't think it's going to be it's not going to be Wolf Jail though because they went up points. They're cavalry. They still have to go through buildings. They're going to have a hard time fitting through stuff.
Do we still run 2 units of Gargs in every list, or are we going to just run 1 now?
That's for other people to talk about. I took Gargoyles out 2 months ago.
Well, Crusher's an exception. I don't think.
Yeah.
Right. Every other detachment probably was running.
Without the ability to advance and do an action, they really have lost some value.
But the ability to be battle line and deep strike into your opponent's deployment zone is kind of valuable.
Well, for the secret mission, they have to be there turn 5. So I don't know if they even. I've never had a squad of Gargoyles live to turn 5 except for one game against Tau.
So if you're Vanguard, you hold them in the back, and then turn 4 or whatever, you put them up in a deep strike, and then yeah, you could pop in turn 5.
Oh, okay, Vanguard.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I've played them pretty cautiously on priority targets in certain, like at certain times you drop them in turn 3, you just drop them in a ruin, 1 unit in your board half, 1 unit on somewhere where you've pushed your opponent off, and you just like hold them in place until turn 5 and flood onto objectives. So you can definitely do that. It just depends how much you deplete your opponent's forces. And I think that's going to be easier now that we have like real damage.
Well, the other
But I
thing
think
is like, you want battle line holding your objectives on some of these missions, like the one with the banners and the one where you have to like defend it or whatever, right?
Banners and Tyranniform is only what, 2 of 12 mission rules though?
Banners
what
isn't
I'm
even a
asking
mission
is,
rule,
like-
it's a special rule.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is, without the advance and do actions, like, and the changes to the mission format, is it better to just run Termagants, like just run 10 Termagants to just
Yes.
backfield and do
I
stuff?
think,
Like,
yeah, wherever you can shave points, it's probably fine.
So you can't use their shoot and move if you're going to do actions. So
right, which makes
kind
them
of
way
just-
less valuable. Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
think you're
not that you
probably
could
defaulting
before
to,
it.
I think you're probably defaulting to 1 Gargoyle unit and 2 Hormigaunt units. I think the Hormigants are better than the Termagants. They just do more,
Yeah.
and they're faster.
That was
And
kind
being
of...
able to get there
But the
and
5
advance
the
them-
5 points could matter.
I'm more looking at the Termagants just for the reactive move. I really like their reactive move.
The reactive move is really good.
I haven't run Termagants
I think
for a
reactive
single
move is
game
really
this
good
entire edition.
if you're on like any sort of fixed plan or anything where you plan to just like sit in a ruin and do the thing with the Termagants forever and then run them back if your opponent gets close. That's kind of nice. But I think that higher base move is really favored because of the action changes.
That's fair,
And
actually.
I
2
think-
units of 10 Hormigants sounds pretty good right now.
And they also just like randomly reach out and kill stuff. Or if your opponent deploy, like I had a Death Guard opponent deploy a transport and a tank and some other stuff close together, and I turn 1 like T-bone charged both of them, tagged them both, and just ruined his whole game plan. So like the fact that you can just randomly win the game on deployment with the Hormigants against any army that wants to use transports to stage all their pressure, that's like its own form of relevant, I guess.
Yeah, but he was talking about your home objective, which is something you really do need to consider because there are, what, 5 secondaries that involve your home objective now? / primaries?
I think so. There's
I
defense,
guess I feel
hold,
like
there's
just a
extend.
Biovore in the back isn't enough. So I feel like if I'm just gonna run a unit of 10 dudes to hold my backfield, like why not just take the cheapest 10 dudes I can get? Why not just take Neurogons? There you go.
Well, because
Well,
with the
Hormigant-
Termagants, you
The
can
Hormigants are pretty good. It's
you can
pretty- oh my
preset
God.
them.
Right.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was trying to let you go.
Okay, the Termagants, you can preset them to where they make whatever is on your home objective unchargeable. Because if they reactive move, then
Oh,
You're
they get
golden.
spread out. I see.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's valuable. I was just thinking that with Hormigants, I tend to hold them back until, like, my second unit tends to stay back in my deployment or in a safe staging ruin for a fairly extended period of time until I have a window to just, like, clog a shooting lane or flip a primary. So I'm not necessarily that bothered if I have to, like, string them back and hold my home objective, if it's my second unit.
That's true. Also, not having signals is going to be really interesting for how people deploy / hold their home or their deployment zone, because there's going to be no reason to be in the corners.
Yeah.
So I think a Trigon's going to be really valuable because if they don't defend that hard and spend a lot of resources defending their home objectives, you can just take it. And like you said, there's a lot of missions that depend on holding that objective.
Oh, that makes Trigon OC6 on damage and Crusher 2. I didn't think of that.
I've had nothing but like stark raving success with the Trigon every time I've put it on my
Well,
list.
that's a break point that he didn't have before. He was just an OC4 idiot, and I was like, well, I need to not tow it onto terrain, and I need to. I don't know. I had mixed results with it, so maybe I'll try it again.
This OC6 Trigon is bringing back fond memories of OC counts as 5 from the last edition.
Yeah, from 9th edition.
The Moloch that came in 1.1 inches away and just flipped objectives.
Yeah, okay, I'm probably gonna have to try that again.
I won so many games off of that Moloch because first of all, nobody knew what a Moloch did because nobody ran it.
Yeah. The one unit that I've been raving that I wanted to go down like 50 points, the Assimilator, I think now with the Kool-Aid Man move through walls, I might bring him and just choose the thing on the opponent's side that they want most, and just declare that my singular purpose target to scare them. Because I was just like, hey, I can come
Hilarious.
through walls. I'm gonna come get them.
It's an expensive scare tactic.
It worked
The problem,
against
though, is they
one
can-
orc opponent, and I declared God's goal, and he was really timid to come through the. I think it was GW layout 1 where there's the Thunderdome, and he's like, I don't know if I want to come through here. I was like, I don't know. I'm waiting.
The one downside to coming through walls with a model that big is it's still pretty easy to block the other side of the wall if they know which wall you're trying to get through.
Right? I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just the caliber of players I'm playing in scrimmages, but they just don't. They have a plan with all the other units other than screening.
My play group's pretty good about screening. We've got a guy playing the Soul Forged Pact thing with the Kool-Aid Man Mauler Fiends,
Oh boy.
and he's got everybody screening their walls pretty good right now.
Does he also have the Corn Lord of Skulls with the Kool-Aid Man?
He did, but he took it out of his list because I played him at the last tournament, and my broadsides killed the Lord of Skulls in one turn, and he was like, "Oh, this thing sucks," and he took it out of his list.
My teammate got badly by Kool-Aid Man Lord of Skulls, where he lost the game because his opponent flipped cap it. His opponent drew dead cards turn 5, bottom of 5, end of the game. Flips cap enemy outpost, just Kool-Aid Man's the Lord of Skulls right onto the home objective for the.
That's hilarious.
That's why I'm really excited, because there's a lot of times where monsters are just they're out of position, and I'm like, man, if I could just move through this wall, maybe I don't need to shoot this turn. I just need to advance. So 8 inches plus an advance would get me to this objective if I can move through walls.
So like, how often are people holding backline objectives with exactly a single squad of OC5 idiots that the Trigon can just steal it from?
It's
how often is that
super
exactly?
often.
Pretty often.
So if it's
And a
not
lot of times
OC5
when they
idiots,
do have 10 guys back there, they don't have all 10 on the objective. It's usually
Right.
strung out. And
it's like Gretchen
couple.
or Jackals or Guardsmen. It's something that one good round of melee could kill them with rerolls. Or if you have 2 units going in, you can get them down below the OC of the 2 monsters that go there.
So I put the assimilator into Unit Crunch, and against a Land Raider equivalent, it is a 51% chance to do 9 or better with the buffs.
With the full rerolls.
No, with no rerolls, with nothing, with just Synapse.
Okay, that's not
So-
terrible.
So
That's like respectable.
anything. Let me switch it to
Are
T10.
you-
You ready for this? T10. It's doing 10 damage at 53%.
Like,
That's a 2
no,
up save
they're-
on T10.
They're literally
So-
little goblin men.
One hot roll, and you're killing just about T or 14 wound models, right?
No.
Strength 12 to strength 13 is a big difference.
And it's hits on 2, so it doesn't really need the rerolls.
I'll see you in hell. I don't give a shit. I'm just rubbing and tugging my fucking nips.
Oh, but you can give it. Does the Kool-Aid Man give you rerolls? Is that what that is?
No, it's
No,
a
that's a
strat.
separate strat.
It's a different strat. Okay.
No, Untrammeled Ferocity now allows you to go through buildings, but on a 1, you're battle shocked.
You don't typically
Yeah,
use
it's
that
like-
on a 2 up to hit unit like a Norn.
Yeah.
It's like
If you
the
can
reverse.
reroll 1s, it's 12 damage.
Oh, okay,
It's not
that's
worth
that's
it.
not
Holy
too bad.
We're already doing 10 damage, so like
Yeah, I guess.
So it's already 10, 12.
I don't know. The other thing is, you know,
Take that stupid guy on the horse.
the OC change makes old One Eye OC5, and he heals himself. So if they only do like 3 damage to him, on your command phase, you just heal him back to full, and oh, I'm OC5 again.
Well, you have a third of a chance to heal him full, but yeah.
A third,
okay,
yeah.
Same. If the assimilator saw points drops, I think it would be a no-brainer.
I think
Well,
they could
September
they can
exists.
easily justify like 30 points. It doesn't have to be by unhinged 70-point drop.
I don't see. So we could see that in September, but if we see that in September, we are getting hit with a nerf bad because I don't see how people aren't going to
just
dominate.
for reference, what does a Norn emissary do to a Land Raider equivalent now?
Let me look. Oh, that doesn't include shooting, so that will kill a Land Raider.
Oh, with
Because
the harpoons?
Harpoon.
the harpoon, so you'll kill it. That's just melee, so you'll kill a Land Raider. Right? Am I wrong or
It's
am I right?
2 harpoon
It's
shots,
only
but it's
2
4
shots.
harpoon shots in melee at strength 13 instead of 12.
Yeah.
I think
So
that's the
you're
big
doing
thing.
10 with reroll 1. You're doing 10 damage to a Land Raider equivalent. Can you do 6 with 2 shots? Probably not.
Oh god.
But
you're
you
hitting
could.
on 2s, and then you're wounding on 4s.
Hitting on 2s, yeah.
And then they save on 5s
but
because
that
it's AP3. So I don't know.
Depends
that
if you
puts
use Armor of Contempt.
everything that's at T10 or less than 16 wounds is in super kill range for a assimilator.
So
now.
if you guys wait like 3 weeks, I'm going to have a full event worth of data on this because my local TO has decided that he's going to do an RTT where one of the rules is that everybody is playing Chaos Knights, and you can't register any model that's on a space smaller than 90 millimeter.
What?
So, yeah, it's like 1,000 points per player. You get assigned a random partner, and then you just like play on an onslaught board and smack down. And it's going to be terrible and goofy, but I am going to play a lot of Norns. So I'll get to throw them into other people's big models and see how it goes. So I can report back in like 3 weeks.
Just
and
gonna
I'll
be
let
running
you guys know.
Screamer Killers and Norns.
Because the Norn Emissary also has the melted 2. Can you run the math for the melee on the Norn Emissary?
Yeah, what against target?
Land Raider.
Yeah, it's not going to be very good, but I'll look.
Well, this has been more prolific than I thought it would be. I'm glad that people jumped in.
I didn't even know this was going on. I just saw people in here.
I've been off IDs for a little bit, trying to mess around with Tau, and then this data slate came out.
So the Land Raider takes like your 40% to deal minimum damage with the Neuralance Melta, so it's not really helping you out any.
Yeah.
Well, the same would be for the Harpoon then.
Man, that's part of the reason why I was hoping that for select units who were Synapse, they also benefited for the getting the +1 strength and shooting, so that the Norn Melta would actually be strength 13.
So the Emissary without the Melta engaging is 6 damage to a Land Raider, with a phase of shooting and a phase of fighting.
Ouch.
So not good.
That's alright.
So an assimilator does do more damage, but I think the defensive bonus of the Emissary is just so stupid powerful that
and for 15 points cheaper, it's
and cheaper, that's nuts.
I still don't understand how GW is like assimilators were 290, but the Emissary with the Invuln and the Field of Pain and the Mortal 4-ups is less.
Which is relevant.
Maybe they think you have 6 harpoon shots. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't.
I think originally, like no cap, I think originally the Norns were supposed to be characters and they were supposed to be able to take enhancements, and they realized that was way too strong and they backed off at the last minute.
Will do.
But like, what enhancement would they take? That would be crazy.
That plus 2 charge, they were overvaluing.
I'm free tomorrow. I will not be doing this tomorrow, so I apologize.
So just more defensive bullshit. That doesn't make the assimilator.
If it becomes a Field of Pain, would be cracked on the assimilator.
And then take
Or
rerolls,
like
but the rerolls aren't
assimilator
good.
with -1 damage.
No,
-1 damage helps the assimilator so much.
It helps the Emissary more. The thing I don't understand is there's no combination of stats that they would both get that would make the Emissary better, or make the Emissary
The
worse.
addiction launched right for every single melee smash unit at any capacity was like 40% overcosted.
I will consider.
And then everything except exactly the Norn assimilator got fixed. It's basically what happened.
Don't.
I figured it out. If they fall back, you kill Land Raider guaranteed.
I didn't heal for like 3 days.
So if the Land Raider falls back, it's a guaranteed kill, basically. If you
Hey,
don't roll one.
fun fact, the +2 OC from the Crusher detachment, if you did take Tyrant Guard with a Swarm Lord, the Tyrant Guard would also get +2 OC. Because it says,
I
in
think
addition,
they
while a Tyranid's
do.
monster unit from your army is at starting strength, add 2 to
Oh yeah, it's like the 70 something Neurogons, right?
Yeah, 70 OC Neurogon squad with the Neurotyrant.
Yeah, hell yeah.
What? I didn't think of that, dude. That's fucking
Yeah,
crazy.
22 times however much plus was it +7?
It's 5.
+5.
Well,
that's
yeah,
it.
until they kill 1 Neurogon, and then it's not.
Hey, I don't need your negativity. We have
Your
answers.
opponent will just be very polite.
For one
okay?
turn,
They'll
you
be
can
nice.
flex on
They'll
them
leave
and
the
say-
Neurogons alone.
What's the base OC of a Tyrant Guard?
1.
Mine's 1. So it'd push them to 3.
I mean, it's still posting 3
Yeah.
for 3 of them.
But
Not bad.
still, like, that's a great unit to, like, flip an objective and go
Oh.
fight some shit on it.
Are you kidding me? Even with just a Neurotyrant, you're backloading the OC, so you're a 9 OC unit, and they have to do 24 wounds before they break you below 3. It's a really good unit for primary. Or no, they have to do 24 before they get you to 3.
Correct.
And then they have to do another 9. What's the OC on a Tyrant? Is it 4?
It's 3.
The Neurotyrant is 3.
Neurotyrant and
All tyrants
Tyrant
are
are
3.
3.
All
Which I
tyrants
think
are
is a
3.
little baloney.
Shout out to every single time I've lost a game because the Redemptor Dreadnought was OC4 and a Hive Tyrant was OC3.
See, why aren't Tyrants 4? Why aren't all the medium monsters 4, but the Tyrant isn't?
I mean, the Tyrant's only T10. What medium monster is 4?
Exocrines,
Oh, yeah,
Pharaspex,
you're right.
and Maleceptors are all OC4.
And so are the snakes.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
because it's a
Making
Demon Prince and medium monster, obviously.
Tyrannifex OC7 undamaged is kind of hilarious to me because a lot of people are like, I'm not going to wound that thing. And even if I do shoot it, you can just blank the biggest shot on Earth. So we'll just not wound him. I'll be like, all right, I'm going to run up the board and be OC7.
I mean, I'm big on Tyrannifexes already. Like, I love using them as big catcher's mitts. Like, they can take a charge from. People think like, oh, my 10 Corn Berserkers will kill that. It's like, no, they won't.
You're wounding.
So
you're
here's
wounding
something
this dude on
crazy.
6s or 5s.
Here's something crazy for Crusher. What about a Turvagon? OC7.
Yeah, okay.
So let's talk through OC7. If you
Sure.
give it the claws, it gets +1 to hit, which would be pretty much immediately if it's not OC7. So then you're hitting on 3s with Strength 13, AP3, D6 +1 claws. And then if you're going to be taking units of garbage, how about you make that garbage Termagants?
Why isn't the Termagant T12?
Yeah, I don't
I am
know.
upset
That's the
about
other
that. I
thing.
don't know.
I didn't know that until I looked back and I was like, it's T11?
But a 2-up save on T11 is as good as a Norn Assimilator, and it's 175 points.
That's true. It's a heavy points reduction.
You can
And you can
also
give it
give
the
it
advantage
Ominous
for
Presence so that it's
DSP.
Yeah, you can give it +3 OC so that it's
It'll be
OC
like
10.
So honestly, before I had
So, like-
25 extra points, I was using Ominous Presence on the Neurotyrant just to have an OC6 idiot at home.
But like if you need garbage for Pariah, think about it.
So walking up
Yeah, I'm
with
just not convinced I need garbage yet for Pariah.
I also don't think we need a whole lot of units to be action monkeys. I think if you know, out of the 20 card deck, I don't know what percentage of them specifically require small units to go off and do actions. I'm assuming it's like 8 of them. So there's a 40%
Well, but it's not
chance
so-
that you pull a card that I need an idiot to go do an action.
But for the like if you did what we do and do a Turvagon and 20 Gaunts, it's not so much about the action. Because then you just have your Turvagon to the action, because it's not gonna shooting doesn't really matter.
Okay.
But it's the 40 OC, or at this point it would be 47, potentially 50 OC, and
Yeah.
then the screen of a bunch of idiots for 120 points that are not easy to kill
Heal
because
D3
20 models are
It's
heal D3 +3 plus. I mean, I'm not saying it's something you should really hardcore
God.
do, but it is an interesting thing especially because Vanguard is the same way where if you go, well, nowadays I don't know, but if you go full Vanguard units in the past, you didn't do as good as if you went 50% Vanguard and then like, oh hey look, 3 Exocrines.
2
Yeah.
Maleceptors, 2 Exocrine.
Oh yeah. So
honestly,
that
if
might and it's a pretty cheap package. It's 300 points.
295 now, because it's
Yeah,
175 for the Turvagon and then 120. And honestly, if I'm able to make room for an assimilator, I could just throw them in instead.
Yes.
Okay.
It is an interesting thing to think about.
I'll probably have to run that and see which of the maps that probably benefits most. And I think also like if you're doing an RTT or a tournament pack, you can see like what terrain types are going to be best for whatever you want to bring.
Yeah, the Termagant male is not that bad.
Straight 13 crushing claws. That's like almost all one eye.
Yeah.
And it's AP3, unlike the Haruspex, which
Oh
is AP2.
no. We found the old one-eye imposter. It's just on a T11 body who spawns babies. This might be convincing me.
30 more points, buddy. 30 more points.
30
I
more
wanted
points.
to talk about something if you guys have a second.
And you get
What
tons of
about
extra
the-
ones.
What about the Toxicrene? I've been kind of like eyeing it,
So,
but dude, it's
So if you use-
unironically,
If you use my interpretation of how hiding behind ruins works now, then the Toxicrene is great. If you use the interpretation that the TOs are going to use, the
Yeah,
Toxicrene
right.
is still unplayable.
I have also played.
so I don't think it's.
No, go ahead.
I don't think it's the ruins thing he's talking about. It's pivoting because you can do some bullshit
Right,
with that, some absolute bullshit because they can't touch you if your Talon / leggies, whatever you want to call them, are in front of you. So
Well,
and you can turn
You
it
can
all
now,
the
though.
way around.
You can
And
now,
you can-
though, because they added a whole section to the part of the FAQ where they talk about charging, where it says that all you have to be able to do is, if the model wasn't there and you could make it to the base, then you just move the model as close as possible. So like you can't actually block people from charging you.
But then you still have to be able to consolidate into it. The intention there is you need to be able to do it within 3 inches anyway, which you can't because those freaking things are huge.
I feel like if the
Because you
Toxin was
wouldn't be able
really
to fight.
good, and then I would care about the rules interaction. But right, I've run it in Crusher, and he went off and he killed Shadow Sun, and then he died horribly, and I was like, that's about what I expected.
No, it's his profile's hot garbage. The
If
only
this
thing
was
that might be
last
useful,
edition Toxicrene, I'd be all for it.
the only thing that might be useful is the aura. But then again, you know,
I think the
So
the
it just
3+
kinda gives the
non-fallback
hard
is
spikes
super
instead.
interesting.
but like Horospex has got way better with the pivot change.
Yes,
Right.
they did.
Right. So no point with the Toxin. It's just a meme. Oh well.
That's part of the reason why I ripped his arms off and made him another Malceptor.
Right.
So what about the Tyrannocyte? Is there anything that would be worth dropping in it now that we got the +1 strength? Probably
Can we
not, because you
even-
can't
can
charge
we
out of it.
put the
5 other Tyrannocytes.
Can you put the Zoanthrope Neurotyrant bomb inside of it?
That's what I was
No,
about to ask.
the Neurotyrant is a monster, so it would take up the whole slot.
Oh no. See, I was hoping
That'd be
that
pretty.
they,
That'd be pretty dope if you could. I'd do that.
if they didn't reduce the points, I was
If it
hoping that
didn't.
they at least changed the ruling so it'd be 16 wound monsters could go in, so you could put in an Acid Fax or an Emissary or something, and then turn 1 just deep strike onto an objective.
Could you imagine putting an assimilator in it? Is you would
I wouldn't be able to
Well-
charge that first turn though, so I'd have to like put
No,
the
but
Tyrannocyte
you'd be
in
able to-
front.
which is what you do normally.
Yeah.
But
If-
you could rapid ingress it.
See, I would love that. I'm trying to make the simulator
The,
work, and
movement
he's just
rules.
so many points, and he's just.
The movement rules are a big stealth buff to Norns because they get infinite pivot and their tail can phase through walls.
Yep.
So you basically run into like way less issues trying to deploy them and get them to their singular purpose because now you're not like losing 80% of your movement swinging the tail around a wall because you had to deploy it with the tail angled backwards
Yeah.
because of the way your deployment zone was laid out.
Never in
And
my
then
life.
Then
you're
you
just
get
like
cover
stuck.
almost anywhere because your tail just sticks in a window. It's like, oh, I got cover.
Yep. No,
So what are you guys thinking about the Parasite? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good.
I like the Parasite with the dirt
Too
chart
expensive.
Juraxis in Nexus, but I don't know if I like it anywhere else.
I keep seeing people talk about it as like a thing they want to try, and I feel like everyone's going to cut it from their list. That's where I'm
It
at.
is-
I think
it's
most people are going to
expensive.
play it one time, and they're going to go, oh, even if I put an enhancement on this guy, he's almost 100 points or more.
I'd rather have a solo Broodlord than freaking Parasites, the same points.
Yeah,
The
I
only
think
thing
I have to
can
agree with
really
that.
see it being actually useful for is because it can deep strike and it has synapse. If you, for some reason, really wanted a way to give synapse to like your Trigon or your Raveners, like
Yeah.
it does that pretty well.
Hold on,
But-
does Broodlord have Scout 8?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, there might be a world where if I didn't want to have Death Leaper, I could just side grade his points to a Broodlord, and now he has Scout 8. And he
But
gets the
Lonop
same
is
melee. Yeah,
it's better melee actually. It's not the same.
straight
It's going to be
70
pretty
for
important to be
for
able to
2.
just
Yeah,
like
Way
hold him
Devlin's
against
twin
the
linked.
other.
I don't know, if I just needed
Like, I think
80
he
points to
looks
go
really
try to
good.
assassinate something, and he's a character, so even though
Oh,
he
it's
doesn't
way
have
better
precision,
actually. It's
Yeah,
no,
Twin
it's
Link
way better because it's twin link dev wound strength 7.
Right. So now I'm wondering, is that a side grade in my list from Death Leaper for the same 80 points?
And it probably won't die on the clapback because it has -1 to hit.
Right. I don't know.
And that's stat.
Just something silly I thought of.
Doesn't
Yeah.
the Broodlord only have a 5-up invuln?
He has a 4-up invuln.
No, he has a 4
Let's go for it.
And he's got lightning reflexes, so slightly better than
But he's only got
Zeus.
5 attacks
5 attacks, hitting on 2s.
instead of 6.
He's not a monster, so in Crusher you don't reroll hits, but he's twin linked. And honestly, if you're just trying to single out a character, you just do heroic. What is it called?
Yeah.
Not heroic intervention.
Epic challenge.
Epic challenge. And you just say, hey, I'm just gonna kill this character.
The Broodlord's really nice because gets full rerolls with it when it's with the Gene Sealers.
But the
Yeah.
Broodlord doesn't infiltrate. I don't know if I like that.
No, but he
I mean, but it
scouts.
needed Scout and Infiltrate on all these new deployments.
That's true. The deployments do make infiltrate less valuable.
So a big point that Death Leaper has is the still being blown up, right? Because a lot of these layouts have big firing lanes that let you sit on one objective and see all the way to the opponent's safe objective.
Yeah.
So you just like have these weird diagonal lanes, and being able to just stand out in the open and do an action and force your opponent to come to you is like still good.
I
and
think
Broodlord can never do that.
I think it'll be the same sort of thing I said earlier. It'll be depending on the maps you play. If it's really dense and you're able to grab a lot of cover, blown up won't matter as much. But being able to scout up a Broodlord and scare the crap out of, you know, some skirmisher unit or whatever that's coming up can keep your opponent honest. It's just another threat, you know, dealing psychic damage to them the whole game.
Broodlord also not fighting first is sort of an issue compared to Death Leaper.
Does anybody keep their Death Leaper alive? I don't.
So something that is really good that you can do with regular Lictors and Death Leaper is, or prior to the strat change, was that you would put them up somewhere to deploy a Homer, and you would go, there's a tyrant within 12 of me, and I've got a Neuraloid, and if you charge me, I'm going to get crit 5s. And yeah, I might lose my guy, but your skirmisher unit is like giga dead too. Like you're going to end up with like 2 guys left. And that's like, against things like Warp Talons, that was pretty awesome. So
Warp Talons got pointed to hell. They're 135 for 10 now, so
yeah, maybe less of an issue.
I
but
think
like
people are not
the
going to be
idea
running
is still
30 of them anymore. It might be 20 max.
You can credibly threaten people where you're saying, I have 6 attacks fighting first, crit 5, sustain 1, and I'm going to put a bunch of AP2 damage 2 saves on you before you fight me. You're going in with your like 5 sword bros or whatever, and you're going to walk away with 2 sword bros.
Well, and precision and the free CP is kind of huge if you're going to make that work.
Yeah, Feeder Tendril spill's super good. Yeah.
But the lone op thing, I think, will be bigger for like the potentially turn 1 cleanse or like a back to the what's the sides, the new signals,
new investigator,
like
new signals, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever.
Scan the board
and then
edge.
what's the like 1, 2, 3 one? That one too. Like your deployment, enemy deployment,
recover
and
assets.
no man's lands.
Yeah. It's not
You can't fix that anymore. I can't believe they did underrated that. So fix it.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Well,
I think they correctly identified that if they didn't change that there would be like 60% of armies that would just take fixed every game.
Because you can max that in 4 turns.
You can get 18 points on that without even thinking about it.
It's like it's kind of tough though, because now there's like the fixed objectives are all kind of suck, and now you're just never going to fix. So it's sort of like,
I think it's the same.
I don't know.
I think Leviathan, if you took fixed, it was already a huge risk.
I don't know if that's true. I think fixed might be better still right now.
Really?
Nah, man, tactical. Those free redraws.
Well, so yeah, there are a lot of free redraws, but you still have to actually score them, and they don't score bonus points. So you were still probably playing about the same amount of points.
I don't know. I feel like maybe this is just me in my own head, and I'm playing my own worst enemy. Is they can see all of my objectives. They can prepare against me, whereas most people are not. 3D mind castling your cards. They're not counting cards and going, oh, well, I know that he has a 1/5 chance of drawing X and X cards this next turn, so I'm going to move this unit over here. They're just trying to score their own points.
Speak for yourself, man. My team does that to me all the time, and it's
really
annoying.
They're I don't even know the right word for it. Who's the guy who does the mind castle, the detective? Sherlock Holmes.
The people I play against, we usually consider, all right, what could you possibly draw? What do I need to prepare for? Like, that's pretty... Wait,
yeah,
I
think
another... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's pretty easy to deny the tacticals for other people. And I really think, and from everything I've heard, people that are playing low-score games, like so much so that hundreds are pretty unheard of. And if that's the case, then fixed is not that big of a loss, especially if you can play your primary game to the maximum, get your fix to 80%, and just have to prevent your opponent from scoring like 5 points.
Sure. I think your 100 points in Leviathan is going to be like 85 points in Pariah.
Yeah. I have another Dumb Crusher question. Hypothetically, if you only had 3 Exocrines and or Harrispexes, like you had 3 bodies and they could be either one.
Sure.
Would you cut down the Harrispexes and just run 3 Exocrines?
Yes.
Yeah.
And just run
Yeah.
something
They are
else
just so
instead of the Hives.
incredible. And now that they're strength 9 with no other buffs, it's like, okay, money. And they didn't go up points.
Yeah.
They're honestly, I think they're still a high A tier unit in every detachment.
And if you want to make them even better, and you have the points, you can put in a Hive Tyrant to give lethals.
Now, if you want to have a backfield castle, you just have a Hive Tyrant within 6 of all 3 of them, and they're just wounding everything.
And the Hive Tyrant's popping out his own D3 strength,
Strength 9,
or
EP2
strength
for
9,
3.
EP2, 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing, basically. And then he's also handing out a free ignore cover to one of your X grinds.
Yep, Swarm Gun and Missiles is so good to get the flat 3 AP on them for one of them.
I don't know. I might be running a Hive Tyrant and a Swarm Lord here pretty soon.
It's something to consider. It's just, I don't know.
One is going to the front lines and one's playing the back lines. He's just
Yeah,
like,
no,
all
like,
right.
I'm like think about it. Like the Hive, the Walker sits in the back with the Exocrines,
And he's
right?
he's the new guard
he
artillery.
He gives you 2 free CP every battle round with Roll the Hive Mind, and then Swarm Lord's giving you an actual CP every battle round, and Swarm Lord's just like heat-seeking missiling for your opponent's objective with the Tyrant Guard. Like, I don't know, like that actually does not seem incorrect to me. The CP differential you can generate.
Points for the rest of the list.
It's so many points. Both of them together are almost 500 points.
But you could do it in Crusher because you don't need need other stuff. You just run all monsters.
I won't speak for Zim. I don't know how many games he's played of Crusher this year. I played almost 40, and I feel like if you invest 500 points into 2 models, you're probably playing Crusher wrong.
Yeah.
You want like 10 monsters that if you lose one, you're not going to cry.
You have to have a critical mass of monsters, and if you're dedicating that many points to 2 monsters, you start to not have enough, you know?
Yeah, it's unending, but it's with monsters. You need to have just... I think the RTT list that I played, I had 176 wounds, and 155 of them were T10 or more.
Yeah, the Tyrant's survivability issue is still there too, so bear that in mind.
So we haven't discussed the indirect changes, which I think makes garbage way better.
For guard, yes.
Well,
for Eldar, yes.
Were we worried about indirect before?
I mean, some metas, if you had a really good guard player or you just had a bunch of artillery, sure.
I think it's more of a meta as a whole situation and less of like an individual opponent situation.
Well, what's the change with it? Is ones and threes, 1 to 3s could fail, or
It's
what?
reverse
Yeah,
transhuman.
1 to 3 hits.
It's 1s and 3s.
Yeah, it's like
always
transhuman. 1s to 3s always fail.
So regardless of your bonuses to
were able to
hit
get
or your
their
ballistic skill.
Manticores to hit on 2s, I think, with some buffs and stuff.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that
they
just
can do
fucks
that.
up. Jesus.
Yeah.
The big list that's going to affect is going to be the Morty PVC list.
I think people just won't run it. I think they won't run
My team
triple
captain
like,
plays Death Guard, and he also plays Gene
Yeah,
Stealer
it's probably
Cult.
dead.
And I had the worst
Oh,
experience just like reading this man's DMs.
It also affects Thousand Suns a bit because Magnus would be able to snipe things through walls, and now it's not going to be as effective.
Well,
Yeah, Death Guard got like giga bad touched. I don't know if you guys are aware, but like they have only single grenade. They lost their tank shocks, so they can't like take carnivores or whatever to have a huge mortal output. They lost like...
This is my perception, is that I think Death Guard is going to be pushed now to play sort of like a Rhino spam, a bunch of Plague Marines. They're going to flood out towards the middle. I don't think they're going to be castling up and using artillery anymore.
Yeah, well,
that's
that
the
pressure
next
build
one time.
is the one that build leaned a ton on the mortal wound output. So what they were doing is you take 3 rhinos, you take 27 Plague Marines, you take the fights first guy, and then you take carnivores to give you like a pressure component.
Yeah.
And now you can't really do that anymore. So they kind of lost that list too, and have nothing really that lets them deal with like your Avatar Arcane type models, especially since they can't like do grenade and then no tank shocks and like. Well, I guess they can still tank shock with rhinos, but it's like it's hard. I don't know. I'm gonna find out on Sunday how bad Death Guard got bad touched.
So I don't consider myself like a super great player. Sure, I've played a lot and I know the rules fairly well, and I play Crusher Stampede because I like it. But the first RTT I went to in March, I went 1-2, and I was like, that sounds about right. That's what I deserve. And then I go into this next RTT 2 months later and I win it, and I was like, I don't know how this even happened. And now my entire local game store is looking at the buffs for Crusher, and they're like, did you personally write these? Like, no.
I mean, I hadn't given Crusher much thought at all, and listening to you two talk about it, I'm kind of understanding
I think
the allure.
it's definitely
No, it's
a
real, man.
weird veiled detachment, and I think another buy-in is that you have to have like $1,000 in monsters to make it work, and not everybody has that.
Boy, it's a good thing we're a bunch of idiots with no self-control.
You know, and
Hey,
yeah,
it's not an expensive hobby.
Real.
I recently bought a lot of Facebook lots, and yeah, I'm really looking at Crusher now.
Hey, well,
That's the way to go. Yeah.
I'm excited to hear other people will be doing the research that me and Sanderp and Simcoe and Pedal and a couple others were doing.
I mean, you kind of had me at OC6 Trigon. Like that was pretty much.
I feel like that was like the passing note. It was like, oh yeah, so I guess your 3-inch deep strike dive would be OC6.
Yeah,
And
at
then it was
at that point was the moment the phone came out and the Crusher Stampede list got created.
See, your OC6 Trigon moment is the Turbogon with Crushing Claws, and I'm like, oh, having another Crushing Claw unit sounds great.
Believe in Big Mama.
Oh,
The question is,
but-
do you run the 20 yachts to go next?
I don't
to it,
think
or
I
do you
will.
just run the
I don't
Turbogon?
think I will. I think I just run the Turbogon, and people be like, "What are you doing?" And you're like, "Just."
I mean, you don't
What
have to.
enhancement?
Just let me
What
touch
enhancement
you.
are you gonna put on it?
Just, actually putting
cheap, do
putting
nothing.
Monstrous Nemesis on it for a flat 200 to be +1 to wound monsters and vehicles might be kind of hilarious. So strength 13
Ooh.
+1 to wound.
I'll do the math right now. Against a Land Raider?
Oh yeah, dude. I'm feeling
Sure.
it. It's 40 points lower, and I think it could probably do.
This doesn't have that many attacks though, right? It's only 4 attacks.
It's 4.
Oh, I thought it
It's
was
on
6.
fours.
I thought it was 6.
No.
Okay, it probably does like 8 damage then. I thought it could do like 12.
I think you're better off just giving it the +3 OC, so it's base
Probably.
OC.
It's base OC
Then
10
it's just
if it's unwounded.
annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, the +1 to wound is not that good, actually. It's 7 damage.
Okay, yeah, that's probably it. Then at that point, I don't know if you give it the enhancement. I think you just have it be
No, I think you
175,
go cheap.
and then you run it up with a Horospex, and it's like, which one do you want to kill? They both have crab
it's-
claws.
It's hard to kill. Like, it's unironically very, very difficult to kill.
I was talking to I was
After
talking.
running a Norna Simulator a few times, I'm like, without that invulnerable, it's not that hard to kill for some armies.
No, but what I'm saying is defensively, it's a Norn Assimilator.
Right, but you look at T11
Which-
on a Horospex versus T11 on a Norn Assimilator for less than half the cost. They're wildly different.
Yeah, but a 2-up save is huge.
Yeah, but I keep running into art. I mean, I play Tau a lot, I play Necrons a lot, and they've all got high AP. So I think I've just been trained.
Oh
out of
yeah,
it.
I mean, AP4 against 2-up save versus 3-up save is a world of difference.
I've played something like 6 games against Bully Boys in the last couple of months, and I'm just like, no, Assimilator can't kill anything, and he just takes more damage back every time.
Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Not nearly as much.
So back onto the detachment conversation. The melee detachment to rule them all is Assimilation Swarm.
Okay, why?
And I don't even think you have to lean very heavily into Assimilators.
Is it just
For,
the
Harvest
Fights
Hunter.
vs. Broodlord squad
I still
at
think it's
+2
Vanguard.
strength?
So no. So it is Strength 6 Gene Stealers or Strength 7 Melee Warriors. It is not the Fights First.
I think the Gene
That is
Stealers at
big.
Strength 6 are probably better than the Warriors at Strength 7, unless I'm missing
I
something.
definitely think I think that's true.
I don't know. What Twin Link Strength 7 versus
Versus just Dev Wound Strength 6.
Versus
Dev Wounds,
being-
which the strength doesn't
I
matter.
think if we were
Plus,
still in
the
a
Gene
meta,
Stealers reroll wounds against things on objectives anyway, so they're
They reroll ones.
they
to
reroll
wound.
ones, not full wounds anymore.
Not full.
I think if we were
But
still in a
Strength
meta,
6 means you're getting full rerolls against T3. Not that that's super significant.
I think if Meganobs were still a problem, then the Strength 6 Dev Wounds on the melee warriors might be more important, but I don't think we'll see that as much.
Plus, 1 CP lethal hits is kind of massive.
See, Assimilation is one of those things where I feel like it's also just obscured in such a heavy mysticism that I've just been like, I don't know, I feel like I'd have to relearn everything to play it.
Maybe. I mean, going from monsters to not monsters,
Yeah. I don't
it's
know.
kind of the opposite list. It's like Crusher is monsters doing shit, Swarm is garbage doing shit, Assimilator's everything in the middle doing shit.
Huh.
So they're like 3 very different.
Yeah, I think I'd have to
Setups.
invest a whole lot of time to kind of understand it. Whereas, like, my favorite, it's Vanguard and Crusher.
Do you run like 9 Pyrovores in a simulator? Or no?
No, so this is where some disagreement is, and plus with the Ripper change, maybe Pyrovores are slightly better, but no, Pyrovores really don't benefit the detachment at all.
I think Assimilation Swarm just is also getting a huge boost from the fact that it can use its strats with the Hive Mind now, and also the fact that I feel like these new missions reward durability more
That's
than
a big one.
speed. Like, you kind of want to be able to push out onto the objectives and then still be there on your turn, and Assimilation Swarm's really good at doing that. Probably the most durable.
So I went 1v1 against whatchamacallit. It was my 5th game. I think it was my last game of my, or 6th game. It was my last game of my tournament, my big one. And I went against, what is it called? Canoptic?
Yeah, Canoptic Court Necrons.
That's the one where the Wraiths, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I out-Canoptic the Wraiths.
Oh, you were out-regenning them?
I was out-regenning them. I was out-surviving them. The only time where it was like, uh-oh, this is going to get bad, is when the Nightbringer came in and did like 32 wounds to my Psychophage in one phase.
That
I assume that in Assimilation Swarm, you're going to run the Swarm Lord with Tyrant Guard, since you can bring the Tyrant Guard back.
So I don't know if the Tyrant is the play, because it's a lot of points, and like 3 Psychophages is freaking massive, and that's a Swarm Lord, right?
That's the funny thing with the Tyrant still being 235, is I think people who want to run him will run him, but I don't think they'll be elevating their game out of a similar bracket that they already are at. I think he's still
the
too
winged
many
Hive
points.
Tyrant, though.
Yeah, 210.
Yeah, I was just about to ask
that might be the play. That might be the play.
Infinitely pivoting.
I feel like Winged Tyrant is crazy. You have your 6 Tyrant Guards sitting on an objective, and then your opponent wants to like reach out and touch them in close combat, and suddenly they're, all the debuffs stacked on them, and
-1 attacks.
T8.
Well, so the one really crazy thing would be if you did naked Tyrant Guard and Assimilation, and so you Venom Throped them, so they were -1 to hit, and then if something wanted to come out and touch it, you Winged Hive Tyrant it. Then, like, legitimately, I don't know a unit that could kill it.
Similar to this meta, I did not think that Wolf Jail was going to have 60% win rate in the first 3 weeks. Is there something else that's going to float to the top that we're not anticipating?
I feel like Knights is kind of a wild card, right?
Custodes.
Because we don't know.
Custodes just swings
the golden
straight back to the top.
Custodes is going to be a problem. Every single mission benefits Custodes. Secret missions benefit Custodes. They can now fight first for 1 CP.
Oh no.
So Custodes is going to be the sleeper hit.
They have their shiny golden Wa is like game long instead of a Wa now, which is kind of fucked up.
So yeah, big winners is definitely Custodes.
All right,
Knights might get a big. I don't know. It really depends on how much they use Canis Rex and character Titanic units, I guess. Because like that could be really fucked up. Like they do an action, they just blow your face open.
I think honestly
Big Knights
having
right
2
now.
Big Knights to just action, just do cleanse, and then just shoot, and then just say, just come get me.
So do fixed Big Knights with something you're vulnerable in killing, and then cleanse. I mean, they might just beat you.
I think so. I think like if I played Knights, that's what I would do. Then
You
again,
can also
and
put
Knights-
in Lancer through everything now. It just goes through the entire game, and it doesn't care.
What does the Lancer?
And then
I don't know if I like
The
that.
Lancers. Yeah.
oh, and then also the other big problem is if that's your Warlord, and now you can just score the secret mission for Warlord.
In the backfield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I think I'm gonna have a fundamental problem with secret missions this season, because I think they're a bad mechanic, and I think they're forcing it by it's gonna be a lower primary scoring game because things need to be outliving, and then also you're gonna be scoring less secondaries, so you're gonna have to prioritize primary more. I don't know. I feel like I see all the arrows pointing towards secret mission as like, this is where we've railroaded you.
I feel like just every mission where you go second is priority targets now. Anytime you go second, you're just like, well, going for the wall.
So like that's the problem with Custodes, right? Like very often they will still have like 1,000 points on the board, you know, fucking off somewhere because they moved 6 garbage boys. But and then like, oh, guess what? Bottom of turn 3, I can score 35 primary points.
God, that's.
Or bottom of turn 5. I'm stupid. Turn 5, not.
No,
3.
you're fine. I knew what you meant.
Because you can. There's a lot of ways to score 35 primary points at the end of turn 5. And then you can just ignore the primary for the first all the turns.
Just the first full 2 or 3 turns.
I mean, you only need to score 5 because you can only get to 40. So
right,
you can miss them all but 1, or all but 2, I guess, because you have to do the last turn. But
see, I don't know if that's
I can't believe
good
that
for the
Custodes
game.
players are going to get away. I can't believe they're going to get away with this. They're not going to put the female models on the table anymore.
But then if you shadow turn 5, that would be fucking hilarious.
See, that would be pretty funny.
So you maybe just shadow turn 5 and just hope for the 50-50.
Get your synapse next to them.
See, that's one thing I have not heard. You know, I had a lot of Custodes players in my local game community, and they haven't said a word about Custodes yet. So I don't know. Is it Custodes? Custodes? I say it wrong every time.
My Custodes boys are fucking jacked right now.
Yeah,
I've got 3 dudes that are like, yeah, they're over here like throwing a party, baking a cake, like they're stoked.
How are they jacked?
So that before the shield captain couldn't do, there's like whole detachments where the shield captain's free strat ability doesn't do anything.
Because it targeted battle tactics and they had none.
And they had none. Yeah.
That's
so
hilarious.
The shield captain's detachment had only epic deeds.
Yeah, the shield captain attachment couldn't use any of its free strats, which
excellent
was like hilarious.
writing, GW.
Well, I mean, they wrote it before they tried to do garbage repairs. But yeah, so I mean, like that's a huge one, and then missions being higher scoring at the end is always going to benefit Custodes because 2-up, 4-up boys are fucking hard to kill.
Also, their damage output is fucked now. With the all game, just I have critical 5s, fuck you.
Oh no.
Hey Decoy, your guys look freaking awesome, dude. Just want to let you know
thank you.
that. But I'm sorry, carry on, guys.
No, you're fine. I heard crits 5s, and I just started eye rolling infinitely because I think that's another broken mechanic that's ruining 10th. But that's my soapbox moment.
Hell yeah, crits 5.
Yeah. Custodes have game long crit 5s in melee now. It's just a thing that they get.
Okay, that's
Is it
fine.
every detachment?
No, it's just the golden champions or whatever, the default one.
What's their special rule? Is it lethal or sustained, or is it both?
Give me a second. I'll pull up the
Or is
slate.
it like Thousand Suns where you choose a stance every turn?
It's a stance, and it's lethal or sustained. I think is the.
Jesus Christ.
I know Kung Fu.
Isn't it
Jesus.
one battle round?
Is they nuked the Astra Militarum for artillery. They nuked artillery for the rest of the game.
Yeah, but they dropped
Like,
Dorns to 240. I'm a little salty about that. I don't know.
And then Dorn's tank shock like a boss now.
Yeah, because they're T12 and you roll 12 dice. And if their toughness is higher than yours, they get 2 more dice.
Wait,
what?
what? Where was that?
They don't.
Yeah, they changed tank shock. The core rules facts was like kind of the sneaky one that not everybody saw or not everybody realized they put out.
So tank shock is based
Yeah,
on
monolith
toughness
tank
now.
shock is wild.
But like
Oh,
it
yeah,
also
tank
just makes
shock
rhinos. It makes rhino tank shocks and like transport tank shocks like more consistent.
So you roll
So like if they
9
need
dice.
to do a little bit of damage, like you're good. Versus
Yeah,
like
I've
the
never
Lancer.
seen tank shock used. I've never seen tank shock even used before.
Wait, really?
Like,
Really?
It's a consistent
Yeah,
way
I've
to
never
deal
seen
mortals to
anyone
anything
use it.
that's high toughness or has invulns.
Yeah, grenades and tank shock have killed more Maleceptors than literally anything else.
Or any of our lone ops, or any of our little bugs with 4-up invulns. So lictors, neurolictors, Death Leaper. The number of times that a Tau guys just said, "I'm just going to grenade Death Leaper" and then ignore him.
Yeah, man, it's great when the Land Raider dumps its unit out, and then the Land Raider tank shocks your fucking Norn.
Oh no!
And Lander has
And then
grenades.
it throws a grenade at you too because it has that keyword for some reason.
Yes,
Exactly.
I'm just going to blow 2 CP on this Land Raider and just do all the.
Wait,
mortals
what is
to
that?
you.
Is it 2 CP for what, 9 damage average?
Something like that. Because
Non-mortals? Hell yeah, brother.
T12, so 33% chance of doing mortals on 12 dice is 3 or 4. It's
Wow,
4.
isn't it great being able to just turn extra CP into damage? I wish we had that.
Man, gee, that's okay. That's the casino effects now.
Didn't they nerf grenades though? I thought you couldn't use grenades if you shoot now.
You can't use grenades if you fall back.
If you fall back or
If
advance,
it's-
you can grenade. It basically uses action rules.
I mean, you can still
Oh, okay,
have infantry within a movement phase and 8 inches invisible, and that's how my orcs player yesterday finally killed my emissary. He used
So
I can't remember. They're not the commandos. Yeah, the commandos have the grenade keyword, and I told him, I was like, "Do you just want to kill my emissary?" He's like, "Yes." I was like, "Just grenade me." They have the grenade keyword.
So is grenade worded now where you cannot shoot after you use the grenades?
I believe so.
Oh, really? Wow.
No, it's not. It's,
No,
you
no, it's
can't.
Oh, you can't shoot before. You can't shoot before you shot. Or, yeah, you can't shoot after you shot. That's what I meant.
Okay, so I got the Custodes changes pulled up. Just it's at the start of each battle round, you choose either critical 5s or an extra AP armor wide or army wide.
Gee, I wonder which one they're gonna take. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Extra AP sounds pretty sick.
One, they're what? They're AP2 or AP3 glaives.
Yeah, hell yeah, AP3, AP4, big.
If you're going to anything with
so
an invul, they're not. Yeah, they're just gonna be like, I'm gonna crit 5s all my AP2 attacks.
Yeah, it's pretty goofy.
Cool. Good to know.
So yeah, 1,000 Suns are on life support, no problems there. Guard or guard, and they won't change their
what
ways.
was the change? They lost their ability to twist of fate, the armor save away. What? How?
It's just you get 2 bonus AP on 1 unit. Testicular torsion is way less effective now.
Bonus 2 AP. So.
I love how he says it.
Okay,
like
so they can't just take away a 2-up armor anymore for land raiders or dreadnoughts or whatever.
Yeah, and Doombolt doesn't more lone op anymore, which is hilarious.
Which is amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Holy crap.
Doombolt explicitly says
Here I
hey,
was,
you can't target lone ops.
Here I was joking, buying my 1,000 Suns with my tax return, and here I think Tyranids are probably better than them again.
Tax return? What the fuck? It's goddamn June.
This was back in March.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This was months ago. I've only played 1 game with them.
And so, any other cracked armies? Orcs probably got worse. Necrons got worse.
World Eaters benefits a lot.
What about Genestealer Cults? Garbage?
Average Sisters list went up 350 to 450 points.
Oh, the World Eaters came out like freaking champions. Same with Chaos Knights. Oh my god.
World
Eaters got nerfs before.
No, World Eaters this time, they got buffs, but they're buffs that are weird because the points that they gain don't actually let them take any additional units.
That's the best.
They just gain
so they can take some
they just gain
nerfs. I know
30
they
points and then nothing was spent on.
Yeah,
actually, you can now at least bring in a Terminator squad or something else. Like, it does free up some space. Like, for some top tier list, it's gonna let them take another thing of different types of infantry and stuff. Like, you can take at least 1 more squad of something.
Yeah, I know Jack Harpster was saying on the stream today, on the free stream that Art of War did, that his list that he was planning on playing went from 1970 to 1940, and he just had no 60-point unit that he could take to fill that hole.
Jack was running 60 points?
That's just because the number of 8-bound and stuff he had in general. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, they really just need their next wave of units, like Votan does. I mean,
Behemoth, you play World Eaters, don't you?
That's
I do.
Yeah. What? I mean, I don't know if you've looked at it yet. Is there any wiggle room in World Eaters?
Yeah, it freed up some spot. Like that last 10 points gets weird, and that's where it's like, okay, do I put Berserker Glaive on Mo or Battle Lust, right? You can squeeze in an extra Chaos Spawn, extra Jackals, but it's just take 8 bounds. They're so good. Their rules are still just so good, and they came down like 5 or 10 points. Just take 8 bounds.
Sure, but the World Eaters archetype is probably the same 2,000 point army we've already seen, right?
I mean, a lot of lists are dropping Mo, dropping Karn, and it's just Angron and Invo now. And
okay.
Take your Jackals and fit as many 8-bound as possible.
I don't know. Maybe I just haven't run into a super good World Eaters player yet. I'm just not afraid of them.
World Eaters can be tough. That is a hard matchup sometimes.
It's weird. It's like a knowledge check sometimes, but then other times, like, it really depends on what your list actually has, right? Like, if you have Lone Ops and Termagants, you can just ruin their life between putting Lictors 9 inches away from them and then putting Gaunts in a line with their reactive move.
And then
you
they
can just
can't
make it
scout
so
forward.
they only ever end up in the open.
Right, and they can't scout forward because of the Lone Ops.
But sometimes they chuck Angron at you, and you get really bad dice, and then you lose 800 points on the crackback, and you feel like an idiot.
No.
So doing the math real quick on that World Leader 8-bound stuff, the deduction points. So looking at the list that I have, I can literally add at least another Predator, or I can add another Mauler Fiend, or I can just add another Terminator Squad.
Another Mauler Fiend sounds pretty good.
Sorry about the fries.
Yeah, that's
Thank
what
you
the
for
point
dinner.
nerf did for me. Is that's what I can add to my list, and I already have them because I have about 12,000 points worth of chaos across each faction. So that's an easy add. But just so you guys know, like that's the impact that deduction points actually has on the World Eaters. Is you can add a whole nother Predator or a whole nother Mauler Fiend or a Forge Fiend.
I guess I'll have to see.
So we didn't talk about River Swarms. Unless I was not here for that.
I'm upset.
Well, I'll be back.
I'm mad that if I have 20 fill points, I can't just throw one in. I think 25 is too much.
So 25 really screws finishing off that last 20 points. Because, like, I don't know what they were thinking.
I don't know if this was like...
Why did they nerf them?
I don't know if they thought that assimilation was going to be like too powerful with all the other stuff, so they're like, we're going to take away your single, Ripper Swarm units.
But you still want to take 3. You want to take a 3 stack because you're going to use it for your... Because now that they don't matter for secondaries, you're going to use them for your home objective. And you're going to take 3. It's cheaper than taking 3 separate ones.
See,
Which is what you probably did before. It does not make a lot of sense.
I just can't wrap my head around it. It's something where I'm just like, I'm just going to leave it alone and pretend it doesn't exist.
So, like, I saw the points before I saw the rules changes or anything, and I thought it was an elaborate prank.
That's exactly what I did. I always look at points first, rules second. I was like, oh my god. Who cares if Euclid's came down in points?
For 30 points to get...
Yeah, what a... God.
Why?
I mean, I guess... I don't know, it's a really good question. I guess Rippers now are strength 3 if they're in Synapse, but like, alright. Cool.
Oh man, they're wounding guardsmen on 4s.
The joke keeps going.
Hitting on 5, sustained hits 1, so like every hit gets an extra one.
It would be one
that
thing
doesn't
if they
really
increased their points but made them OC1. And then if you wanted to keep them
That would
as
make sense.
your cheap 140 mil base idiots to go do objectives instead of Lictor, maybe that would make sense, but no.
I mean, it is interesting. If they were cheap, I mean, like, I would think 30 points for 3 would be super fair, with the updated rules.
Did they think that we were just going to be screening our deployment zone against, super aggressive armies with them? It's like, hey, here's 50 points to screen your deployment instead of spending 45 for Neurogons.
If you take 3, there's a pretty good chance that no one's going to be able to kill your Ripper Swarms if you also have another unit attacking, and then suddenly their half OC matters, but... that's a big if.
I don't think I would ever pay 50 points for the chance of them surviving a melee to half OC an enemy unit even one time.
Oh, totally. But like, I would do it for 10.
Sure.
If they were 10 points a model, I'd do it.
Okay.
And plus, you'd have something to spend 10 points on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm adjusting my list, and I'm like, oh shit, I have 20 points left to spend, and nothing to spend.
I was working with a list right now, and I have 50 points left, and I already have a Biovore, and I really don't know what to put in there. But 50 points for 3 Rippers is kind of odd, but maybe just do that.
Neurogons, 45.
See, I would rather take Neurogons before I take 3 Rippers.
A Pyrovore, 35.
See, that's what I did
in Assimilation, it does give you the ability to chain your Rippers off of an objective to increase your range.
Yeah, so my current Assimilation Swarm list is 3 Psychophages for Harvesters, 3 Psychophages of Haruspecs, and then a 3-stack Ripper Swarm that's going to stay at home, because that is the base is almost 2 inches, and or I guess it's 1.5 inches. The base is like 1.5 inches, and
yeah,
3 of them can be put out pretty far, but they can't go through walls, which really fucking sucks.
Previously, you're doing it with what? Pyrovores, right? Because they can do kind of the same thing, but
No,
they can also regenerate themselves.
They're kind of massive, but previously you would just do three single bases, and then not string it, but you'd have it in more places.
You wouldn't string them to the midfield so that they could regen the midfield from your home objective?
Not if you had Psychophages that were going to go to the midfield anyway. But you could.
Yeah.
It is an option. No, for assimilation, it's not a big difference because you just take 3 together rather than alone. I mean, it's like whatever. But for every other detachment, it's like what the hell.
Yeah, I first impressions, I thought that with these rules, we would probably settle at around a 47 to 48% win rate. Am I too far off on that guess?
I think you're too low.
Really?
Yeah, I think you're too low. I think we're looking at a 47 to 51.
I'd be shocked if we don't break 50.
Okay, I don't know. I tried.
Well, better beat 50.
Well, I know. You said that earlier, but I mean, just looking at stat check, like our top 50% ELO people were at 51% win rate. The lower 50% of ELO were at 37. Do these changes, in our opinion, affect the lower half more or the top half more?
The top half should be in the 60s.
There's still a level of decision paralysis with these lists, though. There's so many options now.
That's true.
The average player won't be able to get an optimal choice.
That's probably true.
So I think the bottom ELO is going to be worse. It's going to be a little bit better, like maybe 2 or 3%. But the top ELO should be 10 or 15, because thinking back to my GT experience and being like, oh yeah, by the way, everything is +1 strength in melee. Like, all right, well I can't lose.
Yeah, I mean, if you were already outlasting people, against armies that had better regen, like Canoptech Necrons, and now you can just punch them harder, I guess that's true.
Yeah. So the top end, I expect, the top end is going to be nasty, which is going to mean we're probably going to get nerfs in the next one. But I would be really, we should be getting wins regularly, is what I'm expecting. And I think the overall, because it's such a high population army, will settle down in the low 50s, but it's gonna be like Necrons, where it's gonna be Necrons except a lower win rate. We're gonna be on the top podium often, but we're gonna have a lower win rate.
Something worth pointing out too is that our bottom ELO probably gets a little bit better, because if you just you're one of those guys who's like, I'm gonna take random shit that I own plus the Leviathan box and I'm gonna yellow the Swarmlord at people, that's actually a real plan now.
Whereas before it was a complete joke and you couldn't make it work. Now, how do Custodes defend
Facebook
against
gaming.
that? Oh no, my fights first is 2 CP now next to the Swarmlord.
Terrible.
Yeah,
I mean, it actually does hamper them a lot, but
I think Mr. Facebook Gaming is going to have a lot better of a time now that his Zoanthropes hit on 2s and his Swarmlord is actually a frontline brawler.
Oh god, you're probably
right. That matters,
I think the real winner is Swarmlord, though. That model is going to be nuts. Assuming you don't just walk it out into the open and get shot. Most armies require CP spend to be able to kill it.
I mean, I just made my Swarmlord look pretty, so I'm excited.
So
yeah, I have.
God, my Swarmlord's been sitting on a shelf for a year and a half.
The brain dead melee Tyranid list got a lot better.
I'm not.
Does this mean that Invasion Fleet actually is brain dead?
I don't know.
Do we have to accept that?
I don't know. It might be. I still don't think Tyranids are a brain dead army.
So no, I think that. The shadowing turn 5 on a good secret mission could just win you the game. Would win you by 20 points.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Because they would have 0 C and they couldn't get the secret mission to hold all 3 in the middle. Because if one of them is even battle shock, they fail. They don't get their 20.
Does that mean that that's weird, right? Because you're probably going to pop your shadow turn 3 when your opponent gets ready to start flipping points. So if you've already popped it turn 3, you can't hold it for the secret mission. So you gotta your opponent has to really heavily telegraph.
What are the how likely is it to actually land shadow now?
Pretty likely.
With -1? Well, if I'm the Dur Tyrant, I mean, it makes
-2.
Sure.
Yeah, it's -2.
Wait,
if
why?
you can get because if you have a Synapse nearby and Neuro Tyrant, it's -2. So if you, at the end of the game, you can guarantee, unless you're dog shit, can guarantee probably two objectives have a Synapse creature within range.
Sure.
Which means that if they ever try and do, so then at least two units are getting -2, and at -2, it's like a 436 or no, it's whatever, it's 4/10 or 4/12 of a success rate.
Yeah. With that, yeah.
Against leadership 7.
So 2 singular shocks on 2 separate leadership 7 units is 66% chance to shock at least one.
That's better.
But that's without the minus.
That's without the minus. So sorry, it's 83% to shock at least one of them with -2.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So I mean, honestly,
So,
that ruins secret missions from the midfield unless they have a way to put their warlord in your deployment. Which honestly, with Grey Knights, they potentially can do.
But you could shock their warlord.
That's true. That's true.
So like the secret. So the only secret mission that doesn't require a battle shock is the battle line one, right? Or does the battle line one have to not be battle shock too?
Oh god, I don't have that one up right now.
What's that website?
give me
It's
a
like a
second.
sketchy ass Norton website. Can you blink it?
I don't know if that's a swipe at Wahapedia.
No, it's like called something Norton. It's built like Norton. It's like, oh, is this virus? But whatever.
Okay, so secret mission, War of Attrition, mentions nothing about the battle line unit being battle shocked.
So that's big.
So,
but that one requires
Shadow
you have your battle. The enemy battle line is either in their deployment or dead, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shadow Cohesion also obviously doesn't care about whether your stuff is battle shocked, but good luck ever scoring Shadow Cohesion ever in any situation.
Yeah, there's too many. There's a lot of restrictive hoops.
Especially since chances are they're not going to table us now that we can kill them a little bit.
No.
Yeah.
So the ones that are easily scored is going to be the ones that are affected by battle shock consistently.
So I missed a lot of.
What? Go for it.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say I missed a lot of the conversation. All I heard was you guys said the biggest winner was Swarmlord. You think?
Yeah, I mean we've been talking for 2.5 hours. I'm gonna upload the majority of this to my channel so people can just listen to this like a podcast.
Oh yeah, I saw you uploaded something earlier. I'm gonna watch it later.
That was just sort of my first take. It was just a quick 12-minute me spewing all the new rules and new points.
Oh, yeah, I know. I've been binging these. Everyone's take on it. Why do I have?
So yeah,
right on my list now.
the consensus for factions though is probably Custodes is pretty fat winner.
I can deal with
We're a fat
Custodes
winner,
because
though,
they can't really hurt monsters that easily.
I mean,
I think AdMech's the biggest winner.
I mean,
just
yeah.
from like where they were.
I'm really curious
anything
to
would have
see-
made them get it better.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, AdMech's my other army, so I'm eating good right now. I'm happy.
You've got some mega buffs on your 2 favorite armies then.
I know. I'm chilling.
You guys,
Good.
you guys are gonna love
I'm gonna
this.
order a call.
What's up, Black?
My local Discord server was crying about AdMech getting more expensive points wise and being like, oh, they got nerfed.
What? After this?
No,
Yeah.
it's so much better now. They're
Yeah, all
they're
of their
affordable now.
a lot of their weapon profiles got a lot better.
Yep.
BattleBot
Yeah, that's
detachment,
good.
man. That's what I'll play.
Nice.
Their parts per dollar ratio is no longer 1.
That's
It was
good.
lower than 1. I think it was 0.8.
It actually was like $2,000 for a full army.
The list that allied in Canis
Yeah.
Rex was $2,500 US, and the list that didn't was $3,200 US.
Dude, no way.
It was so bad.
And it was like
It was
3
so
dudes that
bad.
played it too.
Unbelievable.
And it's still a little pricey, I think, but like it's better.
I have like 3,500 points that I need to get together and build and paint that
What, of AdMech?
of AdMech, yeah.
I feel like I have a lot of games to experiment with Vanguarding.
I'm so
Crusher.
sorry for you, man.
I'll
That
give
is-
you
that
a
is
bag
not
of
gonna be a
Doritos
fun
for all of them.
But a lot of
Building it.
them are so like I went heavy on the Cataphragm, not Cataphragm, what are they called?
Cataphragm.
The
Yeah,
robot?
Cataphragm. Yeah, Cataphragms. Yeah, I went heavy on the Cataphragms and the bots. So I have like 1,000 points in bots.
I'm most excited for Rust Stalkers. I love those guys.
The stab guys?
The little stabby guys.
With the box
I'm
cutters.
stoked.
The attack on
I'm
Titan box
stoked for the
cutters.
BSWS or weapon skill ballistic
Oh yeah,
skill
no,
upgrade.
it's insane.
That's ridiculous.
It's so nice.
Nice.
And then the gun upgrades on the tanks. Oof. I don't think it's going to really be a threat for us though.
No, I mean, they're T3 dudes and a bunch of walkers.
I don't think we'll have a big
I think
problem.
that
but-
Gene Stealers look at them and laugh, and that is good.
Gene Stealers, Exocrines, and Malceptors still just kill everything.
And they don't have anything tough. So,
Um,
although
Yeah,
the Dune Crawler is pretty tough, but it's not a tough model. It's just it has a really good save profile.
Sure. So
It's a 204 up
think-
with a 210.
Yeah, you could probably throw in 1 or 2 now.
I think you take. Yeah, I mean, I probably will take 3, and then the Dune shooty tanks.
Yeah.
Well, money's not really a problem. Three of the Dune tanks, and then fill the rest with bots and a couple of battle line, and just call it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So I would like to do another community tier list probably in 2 weeks, because I think it's going to take that amount of time for us all to experiment, get some games in, and get our first impressions with where units kind of stand. Last time we only had 4 people on the call, but I'd love to have more voices kind of helping to average out where we feel, units kind of lay. So are people cool for like 2 weeks on Friday or Saturday? We do a community tier list and we just do another call like this.
That'd be good.
Yeah, I love that.
So
I would love to, but I can't promise anything because we're traveling again.
No worries. No. I obviously so part of the reason today I was hesitant to pull the trigger and do this tonight is because I wanted to have sort of a critical mass of people. Parties and dances are just like nuclear fusion. You need to have a critical mass of bodies moving.
Yeah.
So.
And everyone's excited right now.
Exactly.
Take your word for it.
I have a GT next week using the new rules, so it'll be huge.
Hell yeah.
I don't know, I'm going to try Vanguard and see how it goes. Uppy, downy, maul out, YOLO, fuck it. We're doing it live.
In order to do that tier list and actually stream it, we can't stream here, so I just usually invite people to a custom server of mine so I can pull it up and I can just screen share.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to throw that out there, see if people just thought it was a horrible idea.
Just terrible.
I think it'll be fun.
I'd love to see where Astronauta Tarn stuff sits against Tyranids as far as that stuff goes.
I think we still just killed them. I mean, all of my games in Astronauta Tarn are tough, but I still just win.
Well, their indirect fire got.
Yeah, but now they're going to be spamming two. They're going to be spamming 2 of the what is that, the
Dorns.
Yeah, 2 of the Dorns. I almost called it the Norn. 240 point Dorns is so annoying, and they have the ablative carapace just like the Tyranid effects does.
I'm just so happy that guard can't keep recycling and ingressing those stupid fucking guys on horses.
Kasserkin or the horse guys.
Yeah.
They can't keep getting away with it.
What's that meme? Like wounds on 2 or 3s and AP4. Which one is it? The big ass monster?
The big ass monster or the Hans? Because
I love the
Spooky Yosa just misspelled horse.
There's a guy locally who probably just got his soul destroyed by this thing. Who he went out and bought like a bunch of Manticores and Basilisks because he wanted to play like indirect guard, and he I showed him the video of the guy. It was a Twitch TV debate, and he was freaking out and was like, because the guy called him a Mongoloid, and he's like, I am a Mongoloid. That is what I am. I'm proud. And there's like throat singing edited into it.
I'm ugly,
dude, like
I'm
every
proud.
time he charges something with his Rough Riders, that's what he shouts out. And
good for him.
The thing with me is I have 3 Medusas, 3 Basilisks, 3 heavy weapons teams with mortars. I got 3 Wyverns. I have all the artillery, but that's just because I collect guard. I just collect the whole army. But it's like, man, like I know my lists are gonna have a lot less artillery now, a whole lot less.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's painful, man.
Death Guard reeling.
No, I think indirect had to be reeled in.
Plague crawlers
what happened to Death Guard?
Plague Burst crawlers got majorly nerfed by that indirect.
Yeah.
Because we used to be able to hit up on 2s with the Lord of Virulence boosting blast to hit, and then Mortarian ignoring the -1 on indirect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does Death Guard even run Mortarian anymore?
Like, the Plague Burst Crawler is worthless to bring in a fight now. It's literally like now the most worthless unit in the Death Guard. They killed it.
Like their pressure list got a lot worse too because they can't throw out 700 mortals to compensate for the fact that they don't have real anti-tank.
Yeah.
Doesn't their scoring get hurt by the Nurglings too?
Yeah, pretty badly.
Yep.
They have like nothing that can score any of the secondaries, and none of the fixed objectives are any good for them either.
Damn.
I wonder if they're gonna take our spot now. Because I feel like
all their units are 10 assassinate points because they all have 2 characters with their Plague Marines. They just have like 9 characters in every list, and they're all frontline.
Huh.
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised if they take our place now that we have actual stuff.
Yeah, they're not. It's not looking too hot for Death Guard at all.
That's unfortunate.
I mean, don't worry. Yeah, Deathwatch might still
Death Guard and Genestealer Cult.
I mean, I'm happy I got Predator Annihilators I can use for the anti-tank stuff. I'm not that worried about it. But the Plague's cars, they render them freaking worthless,
Right.
dude.
Predator Annihilators don't have an invuln like demon tanks do.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
you got a point to it.
I'm
but
thinking
it's
the
like-
things that I can potentially one shot with the Tyranid effects, and it was never a Plague Burst crawler.
No, I know.
Yeah, the Predators are pretty easy to bring down. I'm never like super scared of them, and they're also unreliable because they really need to get buff stacking to get any damage on that autocannon.
Yeah.
Wait, you're only talking about a wounds of 11 versus 12. How would that be that big of a difference?
So Plague Burst crawlers have a 5-up invuln, don't they? They're demon engines, I thought.
They are demon engines.
Yeah, so they have an invuln. So a Tyranifex's AP4 is going to be lost on it, whereas on a Predator Annihilator, at least in Crusher, if I use Storm Guided Missiles, I ignore cover, so I get the full 4 AP. So if I wound it, I just do damage.
Yeah, PBCs have a 5-up invuln. They're 12 wounds, 2-up armor, 5-up invuln, T10.
Yeah, so...
Is there anything else of note? Because I kind of just looked up my 2 factions. I'm not...
No, I think as we play games, we'll figure
massive.
out our opponent's
Yeah,
changes, because they'll be explaining it as we play them.
Yeah. Because, like, I saw the core stuff, I saw AdMech, I saw NIDS, and I was happy.
Yeah, pivot is massive, and in all of the core stuff, that is the biggest change.
Yeah, that core stuff. Honestly, I think that buffed us a ton, too.
It makes Haruspex so much easier to maneuver. I love it.
Mm.
Yeah,
Not going to
pivot's
help
like
with the
big
toxic green much, but...
Nah, you just don't bring them.
I mean, it is going to help with the toxic green if you decide to bring one.
If he was 125, and then you had anti-infantry 2-up, there's a world where maybe he goes in and tries to just tie up a green tide unit and just eats them.
You're assuming he doesn't get, his tentacles blocked by a...
But he could spin all the way around.
He can spin all the way
Oh,
around,
yeah,
and also
that's
his
true,
tentacles
yeah.
don't block him
Yeah,
anymore.
the tentacles phase through walls now. They just phase.
So
It's great.
So the math on a 120 by 96 model is it's 24 degrees. If you turn 24 degrees, you get more movement than you did.
See, that's
So he is movable now.
Yeah, so even if you move 190-degree angle going past a hard corner, you gained movement.
Yeah.
And there's no
I mean, yeah,
practical
that's
way to cheese the charge either. I did the math in another Discord. With a based model, you can't do it. A Corn Lord of Skulls might be able to do it. Where if you deep strike or strategic reserve and you pivot, you could potentially turn a 9-inch charge to an 8-inch charge.
Yeah.
Weird.
But it's not possible for anything with a base. And then obviously any Bio Titan would do it.
I was kind of hoping that Necrons would get hit by it a little bit harder, but oh well.
Oh, they got frickin'...
they got hit last time, though.
Yeah,
they got hit hard.
but not really.
I mean, the Nightbringer is
I
no
feel
longer
I feel like Canoptech is kind of like shit out of luck now, right? Because they lost another 90+ points off their best list, and they already lost 100.
Oh, I didn't even...
Did they really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, Canoptech got clapped.
Yeah, Wraiths got bumped up again. They're like 250 for 6, and then plus
Good.
the 85 point tech
They
roll
should
plus
have been.
enhancement.
110 for
And the
3 was
Doomstalker's
criminally
145.
I'm so glad the Doomstalker's 145. Fuck that model so much. I hate it.
Yeah, the Doomstalker.
Okay, so it did
you
make
can't
sense.
kill the
Necrons in
Doomstalker. It's like
general.
fucking impossible.
Well, I was going to say,
That thing is so
if
hard
things
to
don't
kill.
die, they just have to have less of it.
I hate
What,
Necrons
did they
in
get any
general.
rule changes? Did Necrons get any rule changes? I didn't see any.
I didn't
They
look.
Cosmic
got
Resurgent
one
got nerfed.
stratagem nerf?
Oh, is that
Yeah,
the no
but
more
it's
3
still
inches
what
for big
matters.
boys?
Yeah, you can't Catan 3 inches. You can still do the monolith though.
Okay,
Fair.
I like
It's
that.
non-monster.
Dude, I hate that thing.
No 3-inch.
They can also Cosmic Precision the Doomsday Arc if you care about that.
Whatever.
Fear the monolith tank shock now.
Nah.
True, monolith tank shock, Big Daddy.
No.
Oh, it's like 13 hit dice.
I mean, it's as good as a Walker used to be.
I wish we
It
could
was
take
no,
shot.
it was no Lancer, but
Just come over to Crusher,
Tank shocking
Norman.
seems like it'd be... I
So-
very well might. The main problem is my collection is still in its infancy. I've only
Yeah.
just... I think I don't even have 2,000 points anymore.
If you don't have a
more
3D
90-point models, boys.
actually acquiring
I
3
don't, I
Extras
wish.
and Scepters.
So what
Yeah.
do you use Ripper Swarms for now? Since you can't really use Ripper Swarms for objectives and stuff. Like,
I mean, I
So-
use them for basing.
So we,
dust off the show.
yeah, we talked about that earlier. Assimilation's still probably going to take 3 stacks. Otherwise, most lists, if you have 25 points of space, you can make enough space to make something useful. But if you have less than 25 points, you can't take any more rippers.
Yeah.
But what exactly are you going to use rippers for at this point? Because you can't use them for objectives or anything.
Just screaming.
You'd use them for
Emotional
screaming,
support.
you'd use them for engage, you'd use them for behind enemy lines, and then you'd use them for tagging things.
Yep.
Interesting.
And if you get real crazy, you could use them for a potential chance of halving OC if you have multiple units charging.
Same reasons you still use a Biovore.
Basically.
Well, Biovores, its stuff doesn't really do anything.
Biovores are still super helpful.
Yeah. I think
they can still
bring the
move
seed
block.
lines.
They
Well,
advance
but they
block.
still got nerfed too. Biovores got nerfed too with the indirect.
Yeah, but they're a third of the price now.
You're not using them for indirect.
Biovores also inherently just hit on 4s. Like, by
I don't
themselves.
remember when the last time I shot my Biovore was.
I almost killed I almost killed an Eldar tank with it. It happens sometimes. You just it was on 1 wound, and I needed to roll a 6, and then I paid a CP to reroll and still didn't get the 6. But you know, it was like 30-something%.
Unfortunate.
But the Biovore's OC1, so like they're objectives / things you need to do on your home objective. So them sitting on your home objective is value in and of itself. And
yeah,
the models
Biovores
are
are just
cheaper now.
They only had to go down to 60 to still see play, and they went down to 50, so it's just a no-brainer. There's not even a question about it. It's just good.
The big loser is the Spore socket.
I think they're still. I think you still include them.
I think they're auto-include.
Engage and behind the lines with them pretty easy.
They're not auto-include because they're incredible for scoring. They're auto-include because they still have a role.
Yeah, and they're
Shutting
50
down
points.
Advances is worth 50 points.
Yeah.
And the 50
Yeah,
points doesn't
fair.
really have an alternative. You could
Just
take a Biovore or 3 Rippers, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Are there
Or Neurogons, I guess.
It's also just really good at screwing up whatever your opponent wants to do, right? Like, it's not just, it blocks advance. It also screens your deployment. It screens random corners. It screens random ruins. It blocks advances onto objectives. It blocks turn 1. If you win the die roll against world eaters, you just plop it wherever they want to go, and suddenly they can't get anywhere.
Yeah, it's
like,
huge.
It's just a lot of utility.
The Spore Assist, unfortunately, didn't see points reductions. I'm still going to play it.
It's okay, the Mucolid did, right? You just pay points for the Mucolid instead of spawning it.
True, true. Although
10 points per wound now.
the Tyrannocyte and the Spore Assist being Strength 8 and Synapse is actually pretty hilarious.
Wait. Oh yeah. It's gonna take me a minute to get used to that.
It's not a bad profile. I mean, it's not a good profile, but it's not a bad profile.
I'm excited about the Turvagon going down. That's
The Turvagon big winner.
Yeah, that's what.
Or not even discount, but like
I can't
side
math.
grade discount of World
50
1
points?
Not bad.
Yeah. All right, gents. I've got almost 3 hours of recorded material. If you guys want to keep talking, I'm gonna jump ship and then upload this, and I'll catch you guys later, probably.
Later.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Oh, good. Until
I
next
should have been in
time.
bed
Great
2 hours
conversation.
ago, and I'm gonna
Okay.
be yelled at tomorrow.
Yeah. It was getting late, and I know you
Yeah.
guys are in later time zones than I am, so I just wanted to say farewell if you guys were gonna keep going.
Good to get this out of our system.
Tell your medieval peasant to chill out. Also, Tabletop Battles app, I guess, got updated.
Oh, thank God.
Oh, nice.
Good night, everybody.
Glad to hear it.
Catch you later, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.